It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacy's here, Jeff's here, Ant's here. We're going to start the show by talking to a Google employee who was just laid off in kind of a unpleasant manner. What's it like to get laid off? What are his plans for the future? And why does he think these cuts are happening? I wanted to get a personal look at all these layoffs, and so many people, as many as 200,000 people have been laid off in tech this month. We'll also take a look at a very big lawsuit against Google from the Department of Justice. This one might have some merit. And, of course, Section 230 under attack. I think I've changed my tune on this. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 700 for Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. Impecunious Mods. This Week in Google is brought to you by HPE GreenLake, orchestrated by the experts at CDW, who can help you consolidate and manage all your data in one flexible edge-to-cloud platform to scale and innovate. Learn more at cdw.com/HPE. Thanks for listening to this show. As an ad-supported network, we are always looking for new partners with products and services that will benefit our qualified audience. Are you ready to grow your business? Reach out to advertise@twit.tv and launch your campaign now. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show that has very little to do with Google. Actually, this week it might be different. Facebook, the Twitterverse, Elon Muskiverse. We got to come up with a new name for Elon. I'm seeing so many good creative names on Mastodon for Elon Musk. Space Karen, anyway, all of that stuff. Let's say hello to our panel. Joining us from her lair on an island somewhere up north, Stacy Higginbotham. Stacy on IoT.com. Giga Stacy on the Twitter. Hello, Stacy.
Hello, y'all.
Looks good out your window. Looks like a beautiful day on Evil Dragon Island.
No, it's just cloudy, but it's bright and cloudy.
Yeah, it's bright. And the plants are happy. We're getting ready for a super bloom here in California thanks to all those rains. Jeff Jarvis, he is the super journalist at buzzmachine.com. At Jeff Jarvis on the Mastodon. His new book about Gutenberg comes out early this year. I forgot. It's this year now.
Yeah, this June.
Yeah, this June.
This year.
bit.ly/by Gutenberg.
Did the proofreading.
Oh, that's the worst part. You don't have a lot of Post-it note flags in there. Mine was loaded with
sheets out to PDF them to the typesetters.
Oh, good Lord.
And I tweeted a segment today, and then I saw another missing comma. I've got to go back in. It's just torture. It's just
those missing commas. He's the Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation who never misses a comma at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. New York. Also a hands-on photography host, our club manager, Ant Pruitt, in the house at twit.tv/hop. Hi, Ant.
Hello, sir.
You brought a friend.
Yeah, I brought a friend, but I don't know if it's in the best of news.
Not in the best of times. So I
sort of feel bad.
Well, no, actually, I'm really glad because we've been talking for the last couple of weeks about big layoffs in tech, 12,000 people at Google, 11,000 at Microsoft, Facebook.
Right.
But there's no face to it. And I always try to say, layoffs are always terrible, and then we always talk about why and the companies and so forth. Let's bring a face to it. One of the things I've been noticing over the last couple of weeks on Twitter is as Google lays off people, I'm seeing farewells on Twitter and Mastodon from Google engineers, many of whom have been there for years. And this it's not a... Stacey, are you wrapping presents?
No, I'm so sorry. I have cough drops, and I just I was putting them away. I'm so sorry.
It's
Are you that
I'm
person
really sorry.
in the movie theater who takes 10 minutes to open the package? Are you that
Holy
person?
cow. Would you
No,
like?
I was like, I need to put the cough drops away so I can do my job.
Would
But
you-
I'm also
would you-
like, but
would
the
you-
cough drops
would you-
make me feel better.
Would you like a junior mint? They're curiously refreshing. just don't drop it into the open corpse of Richard Hay, okay?
So sorry.
Richard Hay is here. He is the face of all of those layoffs. Google cutting 12,000 jobs. And first of all, I don't want to say condolences, but I'm sorry that it happened. How long were you at Google, Richard?
Well, I was at Google from July of 2007 to Friday. Well, and technically we're still employed until March 31st.
You learned of
but-
this in a very unpleasant way.
Yeah, they did send a company script, form letter type of, you try to log in and it redirects you to I'm sorry to inform you that your dog died. So that was, but actually I heard about it before that email I saw because one of the software developers in Belgium sent me a message on LinkedIn and said that he saw that I was impacted and was I okay? And I didn't even know there was a layoff yet.
Oh, son of a.
Well, but see, you'd rather hear it from a friend
Okay.
than the script that you get. And I later asked him, how did he even know that I was impacted? And he said they had created a group inside of Google of all the people that were impacted, and he was just looking through usernames and he saw mine. And so that's how he knew it was
So
me.
there was a spreadsheet somewhere or something.
So Richard,
Well, they eventually, I guess throughout the course of the day, they actually blocked access because they didn't want people doing that, but he got it before they blocked it, right?
time zone. Richard, I had breakfast with a friend at Google's by happenstance yesterday, and he said that his boss has hundreds of employees and didn't know that it was
my boss
that
didn't know.
high that it was done.
Your boss
Yeah,
didn't know.
it was. Yeah, my boss. I mean, I called him. I said, "Did you?" And I just had a meeting with him on Tuesday. I mean, and there was no inkling of anything like this on the horizon, right? So the decision was made on a whole nother level than us, right?
So layoffs are always unpleasant. Google, like a lot of tech companies, had done a lot of hiring during the pandemic. And in my mind, I thought a lot of this was just kind of retrenching after excessive hiring. And Wall Street Journal said something that Google had increased its head count by like 47%. I mean, so I was very surprised to see how many senior people were let go as well. What were you working on, Richard, before the end?
So, like most recently, I was working on some internet edge operation troubleshooting for cloud customers. But probably more interestingly, right before that, I was working for about 18 months on scaling and deploying the back-end infrastructure for Starlink, SpaceX Starlink, the space internet thing. Right?
Oh, cool.
Right. Now,
That
they
is
eventually
cool.
figured out how to do what we were doing for them without us, so they moved off of Google's back-end. But that was pretty cool to work on that. Right.
Nice.
So for fiscal year, this is from the Wall Street Journal, ending in September 2019. I'm sorry, beginning September 2019 to September 2022, that 1 year period. Amazon doubled employee count. This is because of pandemic, I think. Microsoft went up 53%. Alphabet went 57%. That's a huge growth. Meta 94%. So, and my initial reaction, as I said to this, was, well, yeah, the pandemic's over and there was a big boom and now there's some retrenching. Did they explain to you why you were cut as opposed to somebody who had been hired in the last year?
So that is very unclear. I don't know what rubric they used to heuristic to determine who it was. And I got to admit, I had seen the same news that everyone else had been seeing about Amazon laying off people and Microsoft laying off people and all these articles saying, oh, well, Google is, people are worried about layoffs at Google. But I wasn't worried about it, but apparently I should have been.
Well,
So-
normally they'd go to
Well,
your boss
if
and do some stack ranking or something, as brutal as that sounds, and say, well, who can you lose? But your boss didn't even know about this.
Right.
Doesn't Google do a lot, not via algorithm, but I imagine, and then my hunch is they tend to get rid of people who replicable. I'm not trying to say that you are replicable, but who have roles that are replicated across the company,
Yeah,
and then
they're
you might
redundant.
be just
Or
and you might just be the more senior and paid the most, whereas someone who's just come on. I mean,
There's that.
the longer you've been in a job, unless you're like in charge of things, you're at a risk because you're expensive.
Right, and they probably can find someone else that does what I do for less money, right?
I know that happened to me.
Is the stuff you were working on deprecated? Maybe that had something to do with it too. I mean, maybe they didn't want to pursue that line. And I know at Microsoft, all the HoloLens people are gone and the virtual reality people are gone.
Yeah, no, by the beginning of my career, I worked on like building and deploying and developing all of the data center switching equipment that's in every data center in the world. So I worked on that for about 8 years. And so, but then I left that team. So lately, when I did go to the Starlink thing, that was more operations and not as much engineering. And then it's possible that, that I had even been looking around for other opportunities to go back into engineering. So it's possible I just wasn't a good fit for that role,
right.
And that they just, something in that made them decide, well, we can do the op stuff with, other people and we don't need him. I don't know.
How hard was it to switch roles like that in Google, Richard?
I was at about, I switched different roles about 6 times. So, I mean, I worked on the platforms team for about 8 years, but then I decided I wanted to live in Texas because my wife, she said, my friends are in Texas, my mom's in Texas, my sisters are in Texas.
And we're going to Texas.
I'm going back to
barbecue.
Well, because I was in Texas when I was recruited in 2007, and they forced me to go to California. So then, I did switch to Google Fiber for a couple of years because they said, "Hey, do you want to live with your kids?" Which is a strong pitch.
Because that's when I met you, is when you were with Fiber.
Right, I was with Fiber at that time, and then I went and once I decided to go and work in a team that was doing private LTE stuff and deployment of sensors to detect aircraft carriers. On the east and the west coast. So that's a pretty fun thing. You're in Mountain View on a promo committee deciding who lives and who dies, and you run into one of your old buddies and he's like, "Hey, do you want to help me detect aircraft carriers?" And I'm like, "Well, can I live in Austin?" And they're like, "I don't care where you live." And then it's click, 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 and you're on that team. So it's not that hard to switch teams. And that's one of the other reasons why I had no real concern that this sort of, because they've never done anything like this.
No.
This is the largest layoff in Google history.
Richard, you before we got on, and Leo likes to keep things live so that everybody can see what's going on back behind the scenes. You were telling me, you were talking about the difference in culture at Google over the time you've been there. I'd be really interested to describe life at Google over the time that you've watched it.
Oh yeah, well, when I started, there were 7,000 employees.
Jeez.
So it was a couple years after the IPO, and I think every resume was personally approved by Larry Page, and you would get into the company, and it was just, and it wasn't all jumping on trampolines. It was, it was actual real work. And in 2010, there was an incredible meeting where Eric Schmidt stood up and said that because the company was doing so well financially, they wanted to share that largesse and that benefit with the employees. So he said everyone was going to get a 10% raise.
Wow.
So it wasn't like, like we're going to do a spin in or like give these people bonuses, but just them. This was across the board. Right. And that was, and I was in the room when he said that. That was in Mountain View, and it was just an amazing, and he even said he thought he'd never been able to say anything like that when he was the CEO at Sun or any of the other places at Novell, I think. So that was an amazing opportunity for him. But now part of the reason was because there were only 27,000 employees at that time. That's why they were able. Now he couldn't say anything. They're not going to say anything like that. Now. Then just contrasting that with what happened on Friday, right? That's kind of like what all the other companies do.
Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine said that who used to work at Google, he left some years ago. He said, "Oh, people don't understand that Google is highly hierarchical and like the Marines." Would you agree with that? And that the structure started coming in, and Schmidt always said our biggest challenge is going to be we get too big, which I think is part of the problem here.
I think that is part of like, so one of the senior vice presidents is a Swiss fella named Urs Holzig.
Mm-hmm.
And Urs used to run the platforms team that I was on. And he was kind of brutal, but he would have these meetings every 6 months where you had to justify your product's existence from a business case, or he would kill it.
What's wrong with that?
Well, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying, well, you have the guy.
Hard-hearted ant.
I'm just saying.
Look,
No, you're right. You're right.
We've said, at least I've said a gazillion times on here, Google needs to be more focused and just being all ADD with this product and that product. That's why stuff is dying off, because there's no focus. That sounds like he was focused.
Urs is on the infrastructure team. So this was on the infrastructure side, right?
No, I'm just saying in general. In general, just the approach of, all right, this isn't helping us. Let's trim the fat. I'm
just saying that you would kind of go in the micro kitchen of the guy that just, spent 2 years of his life that he'll never get back. So I mean, so there were some casualties of this sort of thing. But yes, I do agree. I missed that whenever he got promoted to a level where he wasn't involved in the day-to-day management anymore. And they backfill with a bunch of like academics who are fake it till you make it guys.
Oh.
And then you basically get things that should have died but didn't die because they're like, oh well, we have the money to do this. Let's do this.
See?
So,
and then Ruth Porat.
You're not talking about Diane Green, are you?
I'm not going to say anybody in particular that I might be talking about. Whatever. It's like,
Hey, I miss Google Plus, Richard. Jeez.
Yes. No, I had 12,000 followers on Google Plus.
Oh, Google Plus. Bring it back.
Yes, I miss it. It was a nice platform, but.
What's your sense of how they went about this? Do you have any idea, or was it a black box?
I'll be honest, I have no idea, because obviously I did not expect this, to happen. I mean, like I have like about 1,000 of these little tip notes that I write to myself about how to do things that were tied to Google Keep on my corporate account that I'll never be able to access again. Right. So, I mean, if I'd have known this was going to happen, I would have because there's no company secrets in there. It's just me telling myself, tell 2 years from now me how you type in the thing to do the thing.
When is my mother-in-law's birthday? Oh, no.
No, that's good.
Right. So,
no, I understand that. I have a note somewhere that says how to set up an SSH public-private key set logins.
That is kind of like a get out of.
I can never remember, so I have it in a note, and then I just pull up that note, and so I understand that. They gave you no time to do anything. I guess they don't want you writing nasty farewell emails.
Well, I mean, I think that Sundar even said that from the reason that they did it like this was because obviously Google is protecting a lot of very private information.
Yeah. I understand
of billions of consumers, and they didn't want any, whatever they think of you as an individual, they don't even want the risk of someone.
Yeah, we do the same. I mean, I hate to say it, but if we've had to fire people, we've done the same thing. You cut their account access off.
Pretty standard operating procedures
as quickly,
for most places.
As quickly as you can. And I mean, this has got to hurt. You said you have some severance time. Did they make you sign? Apparently, they didn't make you sign an agreement not to talk to the media.
Oh, I haven't seen that agreement yet.
We're in the media.
Okay, good.
So I think they are. So since I'm technically an employee still, I mean, I think there's like a thing they ask you like when they do this.
What are they going to do?
Severance.
Fire you?
They could take away could they take away your Cobra or something? I mean,
they might be able to do something. I mean, obviously, I don't want to be. And just as a legal disclaimer, I am not trying to give away any secret swirl thing.
Yeah.
No.
Or anything like that.
And in fact, we're not trying to get those out of you at all. We're just trying to put a human face on something that is so inhuman and so easy to report on. But when you say 12,000 people lost their jobs, that's a lot of people going through a lot of hell. And I think I really wanted to have you on so that people could understand. So what's your plan now? What are you going to do?
Well, I will say I've been incredibly humbled by the response of so many of my friends that when they found out that they've reached out to me to offer me other opportunities to do new things.
That's awesome.
So that does dull the sting whenever, you're being reached out by other people to say, hey, do what you do, just do it for this other outfit, right? But And there are a couple of really interesting opportunities there. I'm not saying I'm going to go work for the Saudis, but whatever.
Not on air.
On the other hand, they got some money, and if they called and what is your sounds like your skills, particularly in networking, yes?
Yes. So I have worked on and one of the things, there is really no substitute for experience.
Right.
So essentially, I've seen many, many, many things fail. So that allow and I don't know if you're familiar with this, but like all the technology companies have what I just proverbially call the WTF meeting.
Yeah.
Where whenever you have 500 switches crash and 70,000 servers go offline instantly and without warning,
postmortems.
You have this meeting where the service owners that are negatively impacted by this event they come in and they look at you. And the way I like to describe it is like it's like in the original Superman with the guys on the wall, where they're all like guilty, guilty, and then it has to be unanimous, Jarrell, and then he lights the stick and they're in the Phantom Zone. Anyway, so it's like that, in the meeting, and then they say, dude, and then most Google services are actually dual homed. So that, your Gmail is in 2 clusters and your calendar is in 2 clusters. So if a cluster dies, you can still access your email. So most users don't notice that even something bad happened. So you can have this postmortem and something horrible happened. But since nobody noticed, then you get to play if a tree fell in the woods, do the other trees laugh at it? It's Google Down isn't trending on Twitter. So this is a nothing burger, that kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
If Elon calls, I think he might need some networking help. Would you consider going over there?
Well, since I did work on Starlink, which is one of his little babies.
That's right.
The only way you can sustain, by the way, a 10,000 satellite constellation in low Earth orbit where they degrade and fall back into the atmosphere and they die within 5 years is if you can dramatically reduce the cost of putting things in space, which they have done. Mm-hmm. Like it used to cost $1 million a pound to put something in space, and now it's 10.
Wow.
So
$10?
Whatever you want to.
$10?
Right.
$10.
From $1 million to $10? Wow.
Dang, that's crazy.
So whatever you want to say about Elon and his crazy antics, you can say that the Falcon 9 is a machine.
Yeah. No kidding. Wow. That's an amazing multiple.
Right.
So how much severance did you say you got?
Well, I didn't say, but they're going to pay me for the better part of a year.
Oh,
we actually have we have Sundar's statement on that.
Right. So it basically they pay you 16 weeks plus a couple of weeks for every year you worked at the company.
And you've
I
worked there so long. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Good.
And we should say,
good.
according to the Wall Street Journal, layoffs reached as high as the vice president level. They completely laid off the entire Area 120 team, their Blue Sky R&D team.
Oh, all? I thought it was just eviscerated as all.
I think they laid everybody off. We'll have to verify that.
What does that say about their R&D?
Well, the people they didn't lay off were people who'd created a product that had then been incorporated into Alphabet.
Yeah, but where's the next one? And the next one.
Where's
the
next one? Yeah. So I mean, they're cutting. It's not cutting to the bone when you're cutting only 6%, but it's cutting a lot of. And this was my real surprise was because the statement from Sundar Pichai is, we really grew, but the economy has changed, so we have to shrink a little bit, and it implied that it was going to be the people that grew, but it isn't. It's across the board at a lot of different levels, and I'm so sorry that Richard, that you were one of the people hit by that. It sounds like you're going to be okay.
Well, the way I look at this is there are 2 billion people in the world that make $1 a day.
Right.
So this is a first world problem.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's still a personal thing. And when
you
you
live in the first world.
Yeah. And when you work for a company for that many years, I saw one person tweet after 20 years. When you're with a company for 20 years, or in your case, what was it, 17, 12, 15? 16.
15 years.
Especially a young guy like you, that's like a big part of your life, a huge chunk of your life. You probably started there before your kids were born. So
I did start there when they were 2.
2. Okay.
So they don't have any memories of me not working for Google.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that, and I think that, I don't know, for me, it was always the case that a lot of who I was and how I value myself in the world was my work. So it hits hard regardless of the financial impact, or it's very philosophical view to say, well, I'm doing better than those other 2 billion. But it's still, I don't think we should ignore how hard that must be to suddenly, without any warning, be told, yeah, you don't work here anymore.
Yeah, that is very difficult. I will say, I mean, if I'm sad, it's mostly I'm sad for the fact I mourn the company that Google is no longer that company. So that is the thing that I'm sad about. I mean, that.
Well, characterize that. What is the old Google compared to the new Google?
That's what I was going to ask, because I picture Google as the folks running around with bicycles and lollipops and ice cream cones and just fun time. And while they're digging into the code and so on and so forth, has it become a little bit more, I don't know, structured and squared off, if you will?
Well, and I kind of feel like, to some degree, the unicorns and magic rainbows was not going to last forever. I mean, that every company goes through phases.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost, Google had expanded from, the 7,000 when I was there to like almost 200,000 or whatever it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So that whenever they cut 12,000 people, that's 6% of everybody, but that's still a lot of actual real people that got impacted. Right. So, and of course, the way they did it, even though I don't even know if there's an easy way to do this.
Right.
Yeah. And, so having been let go suddenly from a company very publicly, being part of something like that is, it's probably better than just being fired randomly one day all on your own. But having everybody realize, like being able to say it very publicly actually allows a lot of cool opportunities to come your way where people never would have talked to you beforehand because they thought you were happily employed. So I really hope that comes and happens for you, because it is kind of cool to be like, guys, I'm free. Anybody like me?
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people be like, oh, and then you can kick from it.
And Stacey, because you were there, you were a GigaOM when it dissolved. So you've kind of been through this.
Richard, have you seen any communities like what's been happening with the Twitter engineers, where they leave and they've gone somewhere online and created these communities?
I think there was a Discord or some other things that they were talking about, where you can go and I guess, commiserate about, well, yeah, this sucks, and yeah, it sucks, and whatever. But but I admit I wasn't really. I mean, I was in the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M, and it was always a suck it up and drive on kind of place where you can cry about spilled milk, but what's the point? So anyway, so that's kind of the way I'm approaching it. Is that this is actually, now I can write that book.
Yeah. Oh, are you? Are you going to write a book?
Well, I mean, I figure that some of these things like the WTF meeting, maybe not everybody knows that those things happen.
Right. No, I think that'd be very interesting. Yeah.
So you screenplay kind of a little, like you change the names and the incidents, and then you kind of make it not, like a based on true events, but not actual true events. And then you could even make a movie out of it.
Yeah.
Because these are companies that everyone interacts with every single day, but they never really see what happens behind the curtain on the side of what, how do you keep the wheels on the wagon?
Right.
I don't know if you've gotten to this point yet in your stages of grief, but can you look back now on your 16 years at Google and kind of summarize what it meant to you and if there was a lesson to be learned? Except don't keep everything in your Google Keep account.
Yeah, well, other than that, for sure. Well, because I never thought I was going to get cut off abruptly like this.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I had, I would have done things differently, right? But the backup early and often in more than one place, and it's the cloud, it's dual homed, it's all good. I'm never, unless they cut me off.
I think a lot of people think, well, Google, I will always have my Google Docs. It's a good lesson.
Right. Yes.
Maybe not.
There is a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Maybe you
not.
have that other account where you just make a dummy account and you just copy everything into that account.
Yeah.
So if this account ever gets blocked, you still have that one, right?
Wow.
That type of thing. But
wow.
yeah.
Ask our very own Jason Howell. Didn't he get?
Yeah, I was going to say, any like even if you're a normal person, we're seeing people get chopped out of their Google accounts for. Well, there's Jason's thing. There's the whole anti-pornography thing where people talked about on the show with parents taking pictures of their kids.
A lot of things can happen, including mistaken identity. Any other lessons learned? Any other thoughts you have about?
Well, so I actually was asked to go speak at a funeral last week for a friend of mine's father who passed away unexpectedly.
Yeah. And
he had worked at NASA, where he worked on Apollo 11 and he developed like the camera system for Apollo 11, and he worked there for several years. But then he decided he wanted to impact people's lives. So he left that after about 3 years and he went and became a high school physics teacher. For the rest of his career with his wife, and she was also a teacher. But my takeaway from that was working at NASA and working on Apollo 11 was amazingly impressive, and it was just an amazing thing that he had done, but it wasn't his life.
Yeah.
And so I kind of feel that way about my time at Google. It was a good run. Obviously, I'm disappointed in the way it ended, but it was an amazing thing that will always be part of my life, but it is not my life.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've got a great attitude, Richard. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm glad you could kind of be with us and people could hear what it's like, and what the experience is. And it's probably good warning to all of us not to tie our personalities up with our job. That they probably should be two different, at least not our self-worth anyway. Richard, good luck to you.
Indeed.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Stay in touch. Let us know what happens.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
I will let you know wherever I land. I'll let you know.
Appreciate it.
I'll give you a ring later on, brother.
Okay.
Richard Hay.
Take it easy, Ant.
See ya.
Ant and Richard worked together at Gina Smith's A New Domain.com, where Richard was the science editor. And that's how you know him. And actually now I realize that's how I know him. I didn't realize at the time. I remember reading his stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's a real shock for a lot of people, I think, at Google. There was according to Business Insider, a contentious town hall meeting on Monday with Sundar Pichai and remaining staff. Google's chief people officer, Fiona Ciccone, was there as well. They were at great pains to say that it was not a random layoff, that the layoff was based on factors like the company's highest priorities, the employee's skill set, experience, productivity, performance history. Not every leader was told about this. Ciccone said, in an ideal world, we would have given managers, like Richard's boss, a heads up, but we have over 30,000 managers at Google. We just didn't have time to do that. People were a little upset, apparently, according to Business Insider. One employee asked about the communication strategy, saying many employees didn't know who else was impacted. Google did not share a list of people based on a principle of respect for people's privacy. This is Rick Osterloh speaking, who is head of vice president of devices and services. He said the company wanted to let people share their information on their own terms, which is why I guess I saw so many Twitter posts from people saying, it's a shock. I'm not at Google anymore after all this
Leo,
time.
one thing I heard is that not everybody in the company knows, because in Europe, you've got to go through a whole different process.
Right.
A place like France and Germany, people are still waiting for access to fall.
Yeah, this is what Elon Musk learned to his own chagrin, that it's a lot harder to fire people in Europe than it is in the U.S. So I mentioned, Jeff, and I'll here's the follow-up. Google lays off most employees in the Area 120 Incubator. TechCrunch says there are less than 100 employees left. But my sense is those 100 people are people who produced a product that Google is now selling. So This is the TechCrunch headline. Google's in-house incubator severely impacted by Alphabet layoffs. People may not know what Area 120 is. It was kind of their R&D, right? They did a lot of a lot of the interesting, weird things that we talk about.
Bell Labs of Google.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. A spokesperson told TechCrunch via email the majority of the Area 120 team has been winded down. Or maybe they mean winded down. I don't know. Only 3 projects from the division will graduate later this year into Google product areas. The spokesperson would not say what projects were being shuttered and which were being graduated.
Guess you could figure out by going and looking and seeing who was left, but that would be.
Yeah, a lot of people on LinkedIn, that's another place you could go is search for they call them ex-Ooglers. They got nooglers when you start. Zooglers. Former Ooglers. It's hard. It's really hard. And our sympathy to all of it's now more than 100,000 people who've been laid off in tech over the last 2 weeks.
Mr. Laporte, when was it like early 2021 when there was news of big tech going on a hiring spree or what have you, or was it early 20?
Because of the pandemic.
And then all of a sudden, right.
Yeah, and remember that these companies collectively made more than $1 trillion in increased value during the pandemic. Pandemic was very good to some of these companies.
Right.
And they were very necessary to us.
And good to us. That's right.
Scaled quickly.
That's why. Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah.
Among people getting laid off at Google, 27 in-house massage therapists.
Yes.
24.
That's terrible. I mean, because that's not a job you can like.
Oh, I think you could find another job. You start your own practice or whatever. We have. I think
Petaluma, but that's
Petaluma alone has thousands of massage therapists.
Okay, but in a rough economy right now, people are going to skimp on that. Yeah. I mean, it's probably rare to be an in-house massage therapist, but it's probably a pretty cush job.
I bet it is. Yeah.
Well, I wonder what other freebies they're going to get rid of. I was thinking the other day, they can't get rid of meals because it's just too ingrained.
Boy, that's the first thing Elon did, though. Those free gourmet lunches at Twitter.
Gone. And all those coffee machines sold.
Bologna sandwiches for everyone.
Yeah, and bring your own toilet paper. Yeah. All right. Anyway,
here is some breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. Now, this from the professor of journalism.
Facebook and Instagram are reinstating Donald Trump.
Well, we knew that was going to happen.
Okay. Yeah.
We knew that was going to happen. So he's been reinstated now on all the main social platforms. The issue for Mr. Trump is he has an agreement with his own company, Truth Social, not to post on these other places. He's apparently trying to get them to let him out of that.
Well, part of this, John Battelle said on Mastodon, he said, this is really about the ads. Trump needs to raise money and Facebook wants the ad money. And that's the essence of it. So his ads can now reappear on these platforms, which couldn't before.
Well, and also if you're running for president, much better to be on a platform like Facebook or Twitter than Truth Social, which, I mean, frankly, anybody who's on Truth Social is already voting for you. So,
you're a curse into the choir.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised. I think there are actually far worse people that Elon has brought back to Twitter.
Well, one came back and then was gone a day later.
Well, Kanye for one.
well, that's one, but also Nick Fuentes came back this week.
Oh, is Nick Fuentes already banned? He didn't take long.
Already banned again.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing story, I tell you. He was the Holocaust denier, the anti-Semite.
And worse, yeah.
So what did he get banned for? He just was up to it again.
I don't know. The story is down there.
What do you think? What do you think if you invite somebody like that back? You invited Nazi back. What do you think's going to happen? Twitter suspended the account of white supremacist and Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes. Listen, 24 hours after his reinstatement on the platform, according to The Hill, he posted a picture of his suspended account on Telegram on Wednesday morning with the caption, "Well, it was fun while it lasted." The 24-year-old leader of the American First Movement had his account reinstated Tuesday. In one of his first tweets, he posted a short video of Yee.
Oh, God.
Let me see if it says this is from The Hill. Let's see if they say why he was booted.
Daily Beast says, shared a Ye 2024 logo morphed into the message DEFCON 3
on
which
Jewish
is a reference
people.
to the disgraced rapper's tweets.
Yeah.
I actually have mixed feelings. I mean, honestly, we know how horrible Nick Fuentes is because he's doing it in public, right? So to some degree, we talked about this on TWiT on Sunday. And I think, Jeff, you probably also had this opinion as I did that, well, this will be good because we'll lift the rocks and the sunlight disinfects and we'll know, who these people are. We just didn't expect that they'd find so many followers.
Yeah, it's the old northern white liberal versus southern bigot argument that at least this was the argument when I was growing up. At least you know what George Wallace is, and you don't know the northerners.
Mm-hmm. It's true. There's a lot of covert racism in northern towns like Boston.
Boston is not covert racism. That is like most overt racism.
Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Stories I've been told.
Never mind. Amazon is closing Amazon Smile. This was the.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I wish they had just said, "Look, tough times. We're closing this down. We've given a lot to a bunch of places. It's time to stop this."
They made up all
that's
sorts
not
of,
a terrible message.
They made up some mealy thing like, well, there's
they were like,
too many people and too little money and
well, they were like, these charities we couldn't raise enough to make an impact on everyone. And I'm like, you know what? Because I had Amazon Smile for my kids' school, and they got $3,000 a year, which I'm sure Amazon was like, that's nothing, but for the school,
it's huge.
$3,000 a year is great.
Yes, exactly. How do you define what's impactful?
Yeah,
a spokesperson. Amazon Smile was launched in 2013. 0.5% of the purchase price would go to the charitable organization of your choice. I choose Doctors Without Borders. I have to point out, though, the real reason why Smile exists, and now I can't guarantee this is the real reason, but there was a thread on Reddit by a former Smile executive, which was then later confirmed by another Smile executive who chimed in, that really the reason Smile was created was because a great many people were searching for products on Google, seeing the Amazon ad, clicking that and buying it, which meant Amazon had to pay affiliate fees to Google of several percentage points.
Right.
So Amazon's profit, there's a whole group of people that these executives are part of whose job is to maximize profit. They said, well, this is a problem because we're paying Google millions and millions of dollars every year because people go to Google first. How do we get people to go to Amazon first? They came up with this. Amazon Smile only works, as you know, Stacy, if you go to smile.amazon.com. In other words, if you begin your search on Amazon, the money goes to your charity.
That's how it works.
So by giving a 0.5%, a far smaller amount of money to these charities, Amazon saved a much larger amount that it was giving to Google. So this is the reason Amazon Smile existed. Hey, that's fine. It worked. Everybody wins. The charities win. Amazon saves a lot of money. Actually, Google doesn't win, but, Google's got other ways to make money. I don't know, though. I wish these executives had explained why they were killing it, because presumably maybe people aren't doing, maybe they're not doing that search through Google, although I notice I do all the time.
Yeah, they've solved the problem.
Maybe they solved it.
Yeah.
But don't you still do? I certainly do. When I'm looking for a product, I Google it and then it goes to Amazon.
How old is Smile? How old was it?
2013, 10 years old now.
So, yeah, I think you got a point, Stacey. At that point, it was different. Now, since people are in the habit of going to Amazon.
So, Mr. Laporte, if it's something that you assume is already going to be on Amazon, you don't just search inside of Amazon? That's what I do.
I do.
There's some things I don't expect to be on Amazon, so then I'll go to Google. But other than that, I just go straight to the Amazon.
I remember going to the Google lobby many years ago, and they used to in the old days. They'd have a board in the lobby that said what the top Google searches were. Remember? I don't know. You ever see that, Jeff?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they're kind of more random going by. It wasn't.
Well, no. When I went there, it was like the top 10 searches on Google, and number one was Yahoo. And I'm thinking, what? Yes. And then I realize how normal people use their browser. Yeah. They don't type yahoo.com. They type Yahoo. And then initially Google would give you the result Yahoo, but after a while Google realized, oh yeah, you mean yahoo.com. And we just push you to yahoo.com. I think still plenty of people, if I'm looking I want to get a 300 count bottle of Advil, type it into their Google. And then, it's interesting. I'm getting Walmart first. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's
Google
the problem.
Got smart.
Yeah, and then there's Amazon after that. Amazon does beat Walmart's price by 20 cents. No, 25 cents.
But we all know you're not normal, sir. So
isn't that how people do it? Isn't that how people do it?
I'm asking you.
Dude, you just Googled it into a Neva search engine. So,
well, no, pay no attention to the fact that I don't use Google, but it's the same effect, right? Actually, that's a good question. Let me see if I go to Google what I get. 300 count Advil. That's a really interesting question. You think I'm going to get? Oh, I still get Walmart and Amazon. Walmart's first.
All right.
But again,
do you get different pricing?
When you're shopping,
Same prices
for Amazon stuff.
Okay.
You don't go straight to Amazon and search. I know you're not normal.
I go to Google. I think normal people go to Google for everything because they're not really going to Google. They're typing it in their browser.
Or they just type it into their browser. Yeah.
That I get.
And on most browsers, that's why Google pays $11 billion last year to Apple, because on most browsers, including Apple's browsers, typing in the browser bar is the same thing as Googling it. And Google makes so much money on that they pay Apple $11 billion last year.
Yeah, the traffic to google.com homepage, go there for that search box has to be small now.
Yeah, nobody goes to google.com.
Nobody goes.
But I watch my wife.
Show as I'm researching the show every week.
Yeah.
I have, because Google, if I go to Google News and type in Google, it's not so good. I go in to the search bar and I type Google, and Google thinks I'm stupid. Like you can't find Google on Google. But when I do that and then hit the news button, it's far better version of news.
Interesting. So you go to search bar and you type in
Google. In Google.
Wow.
See, not everybody's like you smart.
No, they're weird.
Heck, I'm not that smart, but
they're just they form habits and they stay with them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
my father, he hasn't been on, he's 97 years old next Monday, so he hasn't been on his computer for a few years, but he never got past understanding what a web browser was. It was AOL.
Right.
It reminds me, I got to cancel that. Jeez, I still haven't done that.
You have an AOL account still?
That's not unusual. I've been hearing they're still getting
Eugene, Mastodon at one point was adding.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you an interview with the founder of Mastodon.
You want to stay to the end?
I'm going to stay to the end. This is on Nightcap, which is on CNN Business, and the interviewer calls him Eugene, so I guess he's approved that use of his name, which you call Yoigan, and I avoid the whole thing by calling him Gargron, which is his Mastodon handle. But here is a quick.
By the way, he just turned 30 years old.
He's a young guy.
Wow.
By the way, Mastodon now has made enough money through their Patreon that they're hiring actual developers. Yeah, isn't that great? So here is
Mastodon at one point was adding 130,000.
Should I just skip to the end here because I don't want CNN to take me down?
Twitter.
Has he been doing a lot of interviews? I've never seen him before.
No, he has not. I've never seen him like this.
You're the only full-time employee, and how many active users are there?
10 million.
1.6 million at the moment.
No more.
So you're
active.
As you said, you're the one full-time employee right now, and as of now, you're the big competitor to a company run by one of the world's richest people. Do you ever think you'd find yourself in that situation?
No, it's kind of funny. I make very little compared to that man.
If you had a message to Elon Musk, what would it be?
Get off the internet.
I agree. Get off the internet, says Yoigan, the creator of Mastodon. Just get off our internet, Elon.
Kill your account, Mr. Musk.
Elon may. we're not going to talk a lot about Elon. There's not that much news to report. We did mention. Did we talk last week about the killing of the third party?
Yes,
we did.
Third party clients. That's official now. Twitter made it official at first by saying, "You broke our rules." To which Twitterific and Tapbot said, "Wait a minute, what are you talking about? We've been doing this for 15 years." And then they said, and they changed their rules so that there are no third parties anymore. I understand that. He wants his advertising money. But I do wonder what the end game is now. Twitter's being sued by everybody. The landlord in San Francisco, the King of England, is well, not the king personally, but the Crown Properties are suing Elon for the rent in London. The Crown Estate, they call it. He's not paying his rent anymore. Millions and millions of dollars.
King versus Emperor, yeah.
So, you do that and you get kicked out after a while. What's the end game? Is Elon trying to go bankrupt? I've seen that increasingly. This seems to be
manage that stuff.
Well, they fired the entire accounting department. So one theory is that nobody knows those bills exist.
Right.
Where's that checkbook?
Why are we expecting him to pay rent? He doesn't know anything
By
about
now, I think Twitter knows that it owes rent. By now. It's a headline everywhere. King Charles sues Twitter.
Advertising was down. They were admitting it was down 40%.
40%.
In December, it was down 70%.
Yeah.
So he's talking about having an ad-free version charging, but if there's no ads anyway, why put that on? He owes $300 million, I think, at
the end of the month,
imminently.
At the end of the month,
but he's got a $500 million credit line. He'll make that payment. But the way I was thinking about it is the creditors, the who will get the company if it goes bankrupt, will have bought it for $13 billion, which is not a bad price for Twitter. Probably the right price for Twitter.
See,
how much you say? 13 billion.
13 billion is what they lent to.
Okay. There is still a consequence, though. If he goes bankrupt, most of that value is the other, whatever that is.
Well, the equity is gone.
Yeah, the remaining 31 billion is Elon's money or borrowed against Tesla.
That's all
stock.
gone. But
does
the lenders will have first.
Does that not just kill Tesla?
He's trying to now. The new report is he's trying to sell $3 billion in Twitter stock. You get a bridge.
Well, even if he got that, that's a fraction.
Yeah.
So the latest
that's just trying to reduce
his intent. He just wants out, right? He's always wanted out. He didn't want to buy it in the first place. So the latest theory is he just wants to go bankrupt and just kind of get out of it. But there's going to be a cost, I would think. I don't understand high finance. This guy's operating, anybody that rich is operating at a completely different level than you or I. So I don't get it. I don't know. But I'm just wondering if anybody has any ideas of what's going on.
Stacey, what's your theory?
Oh, Lord.
What's going through his head?
I don't want to go into that person's head. Intentional bankruptcy, sure. I mean, I really don't know. I don't pay attention.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But you're still on Twitter.
Inertia is a very powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, has your Twitter feed degraded in any way?
I don't go to it. Like I'm only on Twitter. Like I go to Twitter once a day it's kind of like how I treat LinkedIn. It's no longer like,
right.
And I haven't gotten on Mastodon because I've actually enjoyed not having, okay, y'all, here's Stacey's confession for the January month. I uninstalled TikTok. I go to Twitter once a day.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten on Mastodon.
Yeah.
I'm not a Facebooker person.
I think this is healthy.
I'm a lot happier.
Yeah.
Antisocial.
I've been saying this for a while. I do go to Reddit still. I mean, part of my job is to follow the news. So to keep up on the news, I'll check Twitter, probably like you, a daily check. I check Reddit a couple of times a day, but I also check places like Hacker News. I check Pinboard for the most popular bookmarked things. I mean, I'm looking for news besides Tech Meme. I'm looking for other sources of news. So but that's my job. I don't really participate. Even on Mastodon, I don't toot very often.
David Karp wrote a good piece today that he said that it's a ghost town to him as he looked at the engagement he gets versus his
on
news.
Twitter. Yeah.
And I'm curious with you,
Mm-hmm.
because you've been the one who's defended Musk's intelligence. There's got to be something smarter here. What do you think?
I still think if the bills due, dadgum, he needs to pay his bills. I think that's been his biggest problem. He's been able to get away with stuff in general, even all the way up to the SEC. With all of the tweets that he did.
Yeah, he's on trial right now for the acquisition tweet that funding was secured for taking Tesla private. He's on trial for that right now. It's not looking good for him on that either, I don't think.
I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it, because it doesn't seem like he's paid any type of price or penalty for any of his actions like that caused some tumultuous stuff. But again, from an operational standpoint, if he feels like he can get some other folks in there to run that company and make it more profitable, more power to him. That's just what CEOs do. They put people in place and take credit.
Yeah, it's his MO, isn't it? So he's done all along at SpaceX and Tesla. I don't know.
And I'm still in broadcast mode with my Twitter use. I don't necessarily check Twitter anymore either. It's literally stuff just being broadcasted
just
out.
Tweeting. Yeah.
If I do check it, I'm usually looking for something along the lines with my son or whatever. That's about it now, because I don't want to go in there and just sort of scroll through and just see what the suggestions are, because I've learned in the last couple of weeks that it's just a bunch of mess that's depressing, and I don't even bother anymore. As a matter of fact, I had to tell a couple folks, I'm sorry. Y'all got my phone number, or I'll check in here and there, but just don't expect a lot from me on Twitter from responding,
He seems to have gone off his head lately in the last 12 hours. He has changed his name to Mr. Tweet, and then tweeted, I can't change it back.
Hey, he's not supposed to be able to do that because he has a blue check beside his name.
Mr. Tweet. Well, he can do anything he wants. And then he tweeted the bee emoji, all you can be emoji, be all you can be.
So banal.
And then he tweeted a poem, half a bee philosophically must ipso facto half not be. This is either somebody's smoking a lot of weed, tripping balls, or has lost his mind.
This is my company, and I could do what I want today.
Yeah, he's just, he's trolling everyone. He's having fun. Oh. It's
Good
like if
him.
a 10-year-old boy got there.
I agree.
The world.
Yeah, and you know what? Awesome. $44 billion worth of fun. He can afford it. This is the thing people say, oh my God, he spent so much money. He still has $132 billion. He could not spend it. He can't spend the interest.
If there's any type of crimes he's done, I would hope that he would have to pay the price, if you will.
He could pay all the prices he wants. He's
for whatever those crimes are, just like any other regular person would do. The problem is he seems to just keep living life and doing whatever the hell he wants to do, because he's got that, I hate saying it this way, FU money.
He's got the jack, man.
And the FU money is saying FU to him right now, just like mine is.
But again, big deal. None of this will have any personal consequence.
At the end of the day, he keeps $2 billion after it's all over. And what a lark that was. And I can live fine.
Thrilled.
I can sleep on any floor I want.
Give me $2 million. I'll be happy.
Let me be clear. I don't have a problem with him being rich and a billionaire. I have a problem with someone being rich and a billionaire and allowing them to not have to deal with consequences of their actions. That's all.
Except that I think he knows he doesn't have to. So that's why he can do whatever he wants. There's a certain freedom to that. He's not hurting anybody, is he?
He may be hurting some folks financially when it comes to dealing with shareholders.
But they knew it. Yeah,
like
screw them. They thought they were going to get rich off him. They're the suckers, right?
But that doesn't mean, well, okay, yeah, they placed the bet.
They placed the bet. He turned out to be a nag, not secretariat. Life goes on. It's been good. It's been good and bad for those third-party Twitter clients. Tapbots, which made a very popular client called Tweetbot, fortunately kind of saw the writing on the wall, and they've been working over the last few months on a Mastodon client called Ivory. They pushed it out this week into public. It's still, they say, early edition, but it's available now. They do offer a free version, but most people will subscribe. I ended up subscribing to support them for $25 a year. It's a very nice app, and it's interesting. We're seeing a spike on Mastodon since it came out, like the biggest spike in a long time. A lot of people were waiting for tap bots to put out Ivory.
Wow.
And are now joining Mastodon. So many people, people like our friend Christina Warren, saying, now I can use Mastodon full time.
And it's only iOS, though.
It's only iOS. They'll do it. They'll do. Maybe not. I don't know. I think they'll. I don't know if they will. Maybe not. Maybe there won't be. The thing is, there's millions of Mastodon. Not millions, but there's dozens of Mastodon.
What do you like about it, Leo?
Slick
and smooth, or
yeah, it's nice. It's very slick. It's missing a few features, but it has a lot of nice features. There are other good apps too out there, like Ice Cubes just came out on iOS. It's very good. Mostly, I think it's familiarity for people like Christina who used Tapbots for Twitter, use TweetBot, and Ivory is TweetBot basically for Mastodon. And they go, I'm home.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It's fine.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Again, inertia. Change is hard.
Yeah.
And spending brain cells, I mean, it takes brain cells to change anything. And spending brain cells on something like figuring out Mastodon, it can be if it's not a crucial part of your job, I can see why you would wait.
The Financial Times, which to great fanfare launched a Mastodon instance.
I patted them on the back and I said, how forward thinking of you, how smart of you.
They shut it down already?
Yes.
You're brilliant, Financial Times.
We tried to run a social media site and it was awful.
Here it goes. Here it goes.
It was awful.
Everybody going to start taking a crap on activity.
But what's fascinating about this? Ant, what's fascinating about this? They're not complaining about Mastodon or Activity Pub at all. What they're complaining about is regulation and intermediary liability.
Compliance, security, and reputational risks are substantial and ever growing in unpredictable ways. I kind of understand this. I was a little surprised when big brands started their own Mastodon. I don't know if there's an advantage to doing that. I'm as big as you could be and still get away with murder on Mastodon. I don't think it's
Don't tell them.
though largely hypothetical, these risks were judged serious enough to exercise management at the highest levels. Those
And
people
their lawyers.
at the highest levels. I hear this in a poncy British accent.
Yes.
Those people have better things to do than clean up our mess. The legal side is all that again times 1,000, thanks to some pretty draconian UK laws, which really are terrible. And I understand. Maybe if I were in the UK, I wouldn't be running it.
Well, when the Guardian started comment as free, which was their very open and pioneering effort to have comment, their lawyers were scared to death because of the libel laws in the UK and so on. And Alan Rusbridger took a brave move to do it.
This is a really good example of why Section 230 in the U.S. is so valuable for those of us who want to run these things. The reason the FT doesn't want to do this and the Guardian doesn't want to do this is because they don't have Section 230. So while they perhaps could defend themselves in court, they still would have to go to court. I have to tell you, if there were no Section 230 protection, and we're going to get to that, there may not be in months to come. Then I wouldn't be running a Mastodon or a forums or Twitter.
Leo, would you literally shut it down?
I think I'd have to. Our IRC, I think I'd have to, because without Section 230, if somebody posts something defamatory on Mastodon, I could get sued for it. But more importantly, if I pull down something defamatory on Mastodon, you've said this again and again, Jeff.
Yep.
Section 230 protects our right to moderate as well.
Yes.
If I moderate, I could get sued by the person who got pulled down. I routinely suspend accounts. I suspend 2 or 3 accounts every week on Mastodon. Some of them. Yeah,
nice.
Now.
That's nice.
Stay active.
No, well, that's the job of a moderator, and I love it that I'm Mastodon. And we have very clear rules. And it's some of the majority of accounts are not on our server, so I just simply suspend our access to it. But occasionally they are. There was some guy recently on our server who was it was interesting. I mean, I shared his political beliefs, but he's very anti-religious. And he was posting, I think, very inflammatory things I happen to agree with, weirdly, but very inflammatory things. And I thought, this is inflammatory. This is not something I want on our server.
Not your garden party.
Not what you want in your community.
So I suspended him. But he could, without Section 230, he could easily come back and sue us. And then I would have to defend it. Maybe I'd win, but it would cost me something. And it would be burdensome. And if there were many of these, it would be too much. So maybe I would.
What Google argued last week in their brief to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so we're waiting to see what the outcome of this. I mean, I've changed my tune a little bit. This is the case the Supreme Court is hearing called Gonzalez versus Google. Family of a young woman who was shot in 2015 during an ISIS attack on a Paris club are suing Google, saying their algorithms promoted ISIS terrorist videos. And so they should be held liable to it. Of course, they're protected right now by Section 230. Last week, I tried to contend that an algorithm, especially an algorithm designed to make more profit, maybe should be something they'd be responsible for. But I have been convinced otherwise over the week, partly by you, Jeff, but also just in general. Yeah. Because it's impossible to say what the intent of an algorithm is. And an algorithm is an editorial function. Editorial functions are protected, right, Jeff?
Well, yes, but it's not. I'm always cautious about trying to define it as media and editorial, but basically, short answer, yes.
But Mr. Laporte, you're not naive to think that algorithm isn't in place because let's figure out how we can blow more money. It's more like,
no, they're there to make money.
Let's put this in place so we can make money.
And that bothers me.
Leo could have an algorithm recommending the best stuff on TWiT that doesn't have money behind it, that makes all of his users just happy.
Well, and this was one of there was an amicus brief from anonymous Redditors. The Supreme Court actually said, in this case, an anonymous comment can be taken because these Reddit moderators want to preserve their anonymity for good reason. And the court agreed, which I thought was quite open-minded of it. They basically said, we use algorithms to moderate, and we need those algorithms to moderate effectively. And I think that was persuasive to me. That just because something's an algorithm, in my heart,
that wasn't to add money. That was to try to make a better experience.
In my heart, I feel like Google has some moral culpability because their algorithm, which is designed to monetize, promotes and seems to radicalize people, or seems to make their videos more extreme because that's more engaging. And in my heart, I think they have a moral issue there, but I think they're protected, and as they should be, because it's so hard to define what's a bad algorithm versus a good algorithm, or what's a useful algorithm versus a profit-focused algorithm, that's a foolish task. Courts shouldn't be expected to have to decide that, or a jury. It's impossible. So to protect Section 230, I think we have to protect algorithms. It is very important. We all agree that Section 230 be protected.
Stacey, if 230 went away, how would it affect your business?
Well, we don't get that many comments. It wouldn't affect it very much because I could always just shut down or moderate the comments we get on our website, because we're mostly a newsletter and podcast. It's mostly not user community. Although I would miss the comments because we have some lovely commenters.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just turn them off.
It would make me sad.
Yeah. A big part of what, so I, from day one, as a podcaster, even before that, as a just pure broadcaster, always thought that the real job was to build community, not to build audience numbers, but to build a community. You have a community around what you do. We have a community around what we do. And I thought that to facilitate it, having a Mastodon, having forums, having a chat room, having all of that was a service that not only supported the community, but helped build the community. And so it was very valuable to us. But if it's a risky thing, I don't think Lisa will let me do it. Maybe we'd wait till the first time we got sued, and then we'd take it all down. I don't know.
But then the community strategy you have now is a financial strategy, and that would hurt you.
Well, that's an interesting point, because yes, we have the one thing that makes money is Club TWiT. That's designed to support us, and as part of Club TWiT, We have a discourse. I guess we could turn the discourse off and still offer ad-free versions of the shows and the TWiT Plus feed and all that stuff. The discourse is what we would get in trouble for because of the comments there. I feel a little safe. I mean, I always have felt safer in the Discord because if you have to pay $7 to be in there, you're not going to be a jerk.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's so far held true, by the way.
Right.
There will be jerks who are willing to blow $7, but
Leo, the Reddit thing you raise is that Scooter X he's
liable.
Yeah,
he works there for free.
Scooter X.
All of our. It's not just Scooter X. We have
I know
at least 10 mods in there. And those mods also would be liable. Although, if you're going to sue, you don't go after Impecunious Mods. You go after the deep pocket.
How do you know Scooter X isn't really rich? How do you know he's not worth a fortune? And that's why he has the time to do this, because
he's using his billions for good, unlike Elon Musk. He's like, you know what I'll do? I'll give back to the tech community that has given me so much.
I imagine him saying, "How dare you call me impecunious?"
I say good day, sir.
I say good day.
This job.
Have you met Scooter X face to face?
Oh yeah, many times. I love him.
All right.
Does he wear a top hat and a monocle?
Yes, he does. He's a Cheshire cat in a monocle away from being an evil genius.
Evil genius.
I've met many of our mods. They from time to time will stop by and sit in my lap and ask for presents.
Oh, no, that is just defamation right there.
Except I have pictures of them sitting in my lap, so I'm not making it up.
Oh gosh.
No, they're I am ever so grateful to our mods, and there are people who just kind of step up and do it. For instance, in our forums, our discourse forums, Paul Holder has just kind of taken over under his wing, and I'm very grateful, Paul, to you for doing that. And he keeps the thing nice and clean and running. I never even asked him to do it; he just does it, which is wonderful. So there are people. I think what happens is people love these things and they want to keep them going and keep them gardened.
Yeah, it's part of it's their community. That's the key thing. Is that you don't.
It's not mine.
Like you own
it's
the
theirs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, I keep an arm's length from the IRC. I say that's not us. That's not us. In fact, that might be what we end up doing. We would cut them free, maybe. And see if Section 230 were to go away. Just say, well, it's not us. It's just some fans run a place, so you sue them.
Okay, Scooter X.
There you go.
All that good help.
And that's how I show my gratitude for all you've done all these years. So I don't
think he just signed off.
No, we wouldn't do that. But I don't know what would happen. This is why we can't let Section 230 go away. What do you think is going to happen here? Supreme Court, interestingly, was also going to review the 2 anti-social media cases in Florida and Texas, their laws in Florida and Texas, which are blatantly unconstitutional, totally in contrary to the First Amendment, and they've deferred it. They've probably taken it off this year's docket by saying, "Well, we want a comment from the White House." What does the Biden administration think? Which I don't
know
care.
What say.
They don't care. But it's a way of them saying, yeah, we're not going to do that one this year.
Well, the Biden administration is also shooting for 230. The left and the right are both shooting for it. Right? One goes after the shield, one goes after the sword. And yeah, Texas and Florida they're not, but it's going to puts them in a difficult position.
So I think the reason the left and the right are so adamant about this is they think Section 230 protects big tech. And the most important thing I would like you to take away from this, and everybody listening, is that it isn't big tech I'm worried about. Now, I don't care if Google has to struggle or Facebook or YouTube have to struggle. It's going to kill the small people like us.
Yes.
We're the ones who can least afford all the lawsuits that would come if Section 230 didn't exist. It isn't to protect big tech. It's to protect the internet, and particularly the grassroots nature of the internet. So that's really important.
I would sit in your lap right now.
See?
Because and I want to say this seriously, is that God bless you. Last week you were saying something practically the opposite, and you're open and you're flexible and you're changing your mind, and I respect that.
In my what's the opposite of defense?
Offense?
In my offense,
prosecution.
I hadn't changed my attitude about 230, but I did feel like Google had some moral response. This is the problem, is they have some sort of moral and this is also, I see the problem is, I understand why Congress and the courts might say, well, yeah, but this is reprehensible that Google's promoting this content. What can we do about it? Oh, let's get rid of this 230 thing. And that's why I want to kind of decouple the two. But you can't, I think you can't decouple the two. And that's really what I've come to the realization, as much as I'd like to. Because I feel also that there's some moral responsibility that Google has not to promote this stuff.
Right.
It's like saying, like, it's kind of like child porn and encryption. Right?
Yeah.
It's that sort of
It's
issue.
exactly like that. Yep. Very good. Anyway, we'll watch with interest. I don't know what the timeline is on the Supreme Court in Section 230. They don't. Have they heard oral arguments? Well, no. They're just taking briefs right now.
They just got briefs. Yep.
And these oral arguments are not going to be the ones from the do not pay chatbot. So.
Yes, right. The do not pay chatbot. Oh, my God.
Hey, I think it's a great use case. It's an interesting test. And the fact that the do not pay chatbot is now going to actually make legal arguments in front of a judge that in a case we don't know about yet. I'm like.
Lawyers are going to protect lawyers. And they're going to say, if you're not paying a lawyer for your defense, then you can't do it. I don't know. That's interesting because the Constitution says you can defend yourself. Constitution, you don't have to have a lawyer.
You know what they say about that. The person who has their own self as a client is a fool.
Schmuck.
Fool for an attorney. There's currently no timeline as far as I know for these cases. The amicus briefs had to be filed by January 12th. That's why they were all filed. But I don't know if the court said when they're going to hear arguments. So
do we want to talk about the government suing Google, which feels like a big Google story, but do we also want to have an ad?
Yeah, let's do. Yeah, thank you, Stacy.
Because I really need to go get a drink of water.
No, get a drink, have whatever you need. Get that stroopwafel, and we'll take a break. And when we come back, we will talk a little bit about more legal action against Google, not just here, but in the EU as well. The EU is really taking the lead on all this stuff. You're watching and listening to This Week in Google with Stacey Higginbotham, Jeff Jarvis, Ant Pruitt. And our show today brought to you by HPE GreenLake, orchestrated by the experts at CDW. The helpful people at CDW understand your organization needs simple management over its big data, but with some needing to keep their workloads on-prem for organizational requirements, that it can feel challenged on-prem to organize and optimize your data, but that's where CDW can help your organization by consolidating and managing all your data in one flexible, unified experience, thanks to HPE GreenLake Edge-to-Cloud platform. The experience you get with HPE GreenLake is unique because no matter where your data or applications live, in the cloud, on-prem, you can free up energy and resources with automated processes and streamlined management. And we can all use more streamlined things these days, right? Not only that, HPE GreenLake creates a seamless cloud experience among multiple data environments thanks to the as-a-service model that meets your remote workforce at the edge. And with unrivaled scalability, you'll see an instant increase in capacity, allowing for greater flexibility and accelerated business growth so your team can tackle bigger priorities like innovation. When you need to get more out of your technology, HPE makes data transformation possible. CDW makes it powerful. Learn more at cdw.com/HPE. cdw.com/HPE. We thank CDW for their support of This Week in Google. This Week in Google. So, yeah, it's interesting to watch the both the EU and the FTC and the states all going after big tech, and really to some degree, at least in the Section 230 case, we little tech guys are just collateral damage.
Caught.
Yeah. Which particular anti-Google measure were you thinking about? Oh, Stacy's just getting back.
Sorry. Boiling water for tea.
Oh, yeah.
Had to get
Well,
that
you
caffeine
didn't say
infusion.
hot water.
I know. Well, he said it was a long ad. Okay.
Yeah, it was going to be.
I
You're right,
was-
Stacey.
Did I say it was long? I didn't.
Yeah, you said it was going to
the
be.
beginning of the show. I think it was a long TWiT social ad. My bad.
Oh, that's coming later. I'll do that later.
Yes. This is.
So what is...
I'm sorry.
Google seems to be... I have to say, on the one hand, I think we'd absolutely have to regulate. Any big companies, forget tech, big companies need to be regulated. Otherwise, you get an uneven playing field. And for the fair market to work, the playing field has to be equal. Everybody has to be able to innovate, compete fairly and equally. And when companies get big, they tend to take advantage of their size to basically unlevel the playing field. So this is part of antitrust is, in my opinion, very important to having a free market society. If you're going to have capitalism, you also have to have this kind of regulation. But at the same time, because it's not just the U.S., it's all these other jurisdictions, I feel like it must be really hard these days to be a big company.
Yeah, well, this is the one I know I was talking about was the action on Tuesday, which is the Justice Department in the 8 states. And this is what Jeff and I talk about all the time with Google, which is where it actually does have a monopoly and it can abuse it, which is in online advertising.
Yes.
So,
In fact, they want Google to sell off. Was it DoubleClick? The ad.
DoubleClick?
Yeah, the ad.
Well, the problem is that Google.
That's
I've
still
always,
around?
Stacey and I agree on this. I've always said that Google's vulnerable because where it holds a near monopoly is advertising, and it runs both ends of the marketplace, the buy and the sell side.
Yeah.
And that's what really it makes great efficiency, but that's the problem.
Yeah. This is the
I don't know
second.
if they sold one side or the other. Would that be enough? I don't know.
This is the second ongoing antitrust suit against Google. This is against Google's online ad dominance. And yeah, one of the things they want to do is have Google sell off its ad business. Remember, Google acquired DoubleClick. Gosh, was it 2015? It was a long time ago. That gave it really a complete dominance in the online ad market, both as a buyer and a seller. Of course, the Senate tried to pass and failed the American Innovation and Choice Online Act. Google was fined in France, agreed to a $391 million settlement with state's attorney general for location tracking. I mean, this has gone on and on.
DoubleClick was in 2007.
Wow.
Yeah, that's when Richard was hired by Google. So we're talking to what, 16 years?
Yeah,
Or the
and
guy
yet,
who was on the
yet
show,
they
right?
I mean, I guess even if something's been part of your company since 2007, you could spin it off. I'm actually kind of sympathetic to this. I think Google is self-dealing because they're both selling the ads and buying the ads.
And not transparent enough.
And complete, yeah. The Justice Department says Google punishes websites that dare to use competing ad tech products and uses its dominance in ad technology to funnel more transactions to its own ad tech products, where it extracts inflated fees to line its own pockets at the expense of advertisers and publishers. So they're screwing every both the buyers, the sellers, everybody. I think there's some merit to this.
There's
Oh, there's
there are
tons of
competitors.
merit.
There's
It's-
AppNexus actually started this business,
Right.
but then Google buying. What did you say, Stacey? 2007 they bought DoubleClick.
Yes, for $3.1 billion.
Oh, what a buy!
Yeah.
What a deal.
So the government also alleges that Google has, quote, corrupted legitimate competition in the ad tech industry by seizing control of online advertising systems and inserting itself into all aspects of the digital advertising marketplace by eliminating competition through acquisitions and exploiting its dominance to push advertisers to use its products over those of others. Google is the defendant, not any individuals. It also calls for Google to sell part of its ad tech business, which I'm perhaps
Also part of. I think part of is right to do that.
Yeah.
I actually think that's correct.
Yeah.
Listen to me. I'm saying this about Google and about regulation.
So this is the U.S.
The whole
state
shopping thing in Europe made no sense about antitrust.
Right.
This is the antitrust case.
This is the strongest one, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
this is the DOJ along with the states of Virginia, California, Colorado, Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York, and Rhode Island and Tennessee. So that pretty much covers 90% of the states, the big population states.
And I guess the concern is because they can't show harm to consumers, which has been our standard of antitrust action, that this will have a hard time. But it's also the FTC and the DOJ have been really forward about being like, we must rethink how we deal with antitrust. So,
Stacey, I think it's different in this case. Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, no, I was going to say, so it's really important. I think this will be a really important case to talk about, like, that whole strategy. Do you think it harms consumers?
Well, no, see, that's where I think it's different in this case, Stacey. I think I saw something today, and maybe it was Casey Newton, I can't remember who said it, is that the consumer in this case is not you and me, Jane and Jeff Shopper. The consumer is the advertiser, the media company, the customer. So if the customer gets hurt, and I think that that's why they have a decent case here to say that in this marketplace, there is insufficient competition. That's the essence of antitrust, and the customer is hurt. So I think it actually holds to the old doctrine.
It may. I think the argument that I've seen some lawyers take is that over time, we have focused on the consumer as the consumer as opposed to the customer.
Yes.
So I think it's, I mean, I don't disagree with you. It's totally true that the customer here gets hurt. But yeah, we haven't. Which is different from as much about that.
Too big, which is more Europe. It's just too big. We don't like big. And then it's impossible to define. In this case, if you can define a harm to a party, then you got something.
Yeah.
They're asking for a jury trial. So I think this is going to go up against a bunch of normal people. Here's the thing. I think the clearest statement of the problem from the actual pleading, Google, DOJ versus Google. Google, a single company with pervasive conflicts of interest, now controls, 1, the technology used by nearly every major website publisher to offer advertising space for sale, correct? Yes, right? There are competitors, as you said, Jeff, but Google's totally dominant in that. 2, the leading tools used by advertisers, the buyers, to buy that advertising space.
Cool.
And 3, the largest ad exchange that matches publishers with advertisers each time ad space is sold. Google's pervasive power over the entire ad tech industry, it owns the whole thing, has been questioned by its own digital advertising executives. We've read this email. It was a smoking gun email from within Google. Quote, is there a deeper issue with us? This is back when they were thinking of buying DoubleClick, I think. Is there a deeper issue with us owning the platform, the exchange, and a huge network? The analogy would be if Goldman or Citibank owned the New York Stock Exchange and Robinhood.
So devil's advocate here for a second.
Yeah.
Just devil's advocate to play Leo for a moment.
Please.
I think one of Google's arguments might be that because that auction is going on from the moment you open up the browser page until the ad is served in those milliseconds, that the inefficiency of a truly distributed marketplace and trading floor, in essence, might itself hurt media because it would lower the price for the advertising, or would lower the value of the advertising because fewer would be able to make it through. I don't know that I believe that. I think you can create a network that works, but they're going to argue probably that by bringing this efficiency to that exchange, they created more value.
Okay, but as the DOJ points out, they create this friction-free, wonderful system and keep 30 cents on the dollar. Google, this is from the DOJ pleading again, they keep 30 cents and sometimes far more of every advertising dollar flowing from advertisers to website publishers through their ad tech tools. Google's own internal documents concede Google were at far less in a competitive market. 30 cents on the dollar. That's a nice little
Apple's
business
magic
there.
number.
Yeah. Yeah, 30%. So
That's just like the App Store.
I think, honestly, the DOJ wins this hands down. The only question is, how long is it going to take?
What's the remedy?
What's the remedy? Yeah. They apparently want them to sell off DoubleClick.
Well, I think they should sell off one side or the other.
There you go. That's what I think too. They have to pick a side. They can't own the whole. That's
what I think is the issue here.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing here is, and I because back when they bought DoubleClick, I think their ad revenue was 98% of revenue for the company. That's now down to 80%. They have diversified a lot. Well, it's not because the ad revenue has gone down. It's because they have diversified through hosting and other things, which is really interesting to see how Google has changed as a company too.
I'm not a lawyer, but if you read this complaint, it is, I think, pretty compelling. And the DOJ has lots of evidence, including emails that.
They just listened to Stacey and me. They would have done this years ago, right?
Yeah.
Stacey?
Yeah. We're totally qualified, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
This to me is exactly how antitrust should work, frankly. This is where a government should step in and say, yeah, no, you can't, you gotta divest. You
no, that is exactly what governments do.
Yeah, no. In a colloquial fashion, yeah, no.
But 8 years ago, the tech companies were a lot more popular. Now it's a perfect time to do it politically because everybody's going after the big tech companies because they're too big.
Right.
There's still going to be stupidity in this.
Business Journal says the feds are saying Google has to be broken up. I think that's not quite what they're saying. They're saying you have to stop double dealing. Divest. Yeah, I don't think that's breaking them up. But they do say, I think this is completely legit. I have to say, you're going to have to talk me out of the merits of this case.
I'm not going to.
Yeah, this seems completely legit.
I'll call Google's lawyers.
We've talked about this for years, about this kind of double dealing situation.
Well, and two, it's a case where if you're going to talk about monopoly situations, again, monopolies are not illegal. If you earn your monopoly, you can have it, right? But in this case, they're vulnerable because their control percentage of the ad market is so tremendous. Everybody concentrated on how much they control the search. Who cares?
Right.
It didn't matter.
And they don't. They're rightly very worried about ChatGPT. We'll get to this a little later on. Ben Thompson's excellent piece in Stratechery. I think it's subscriber only, but I'm happy to subscribe.
Subscriber only, yeah.
On AI and the Big Five, he calls it. We'll talk about this in just a little bit. This came out a few weeks ago. But he thinks Microsoft is best positioned to take advantage of things like ChatGPT. We learned this week that the $10 billion investment that was rumored that Microsoft was going to put into OpenAI is actually, in fact, the amount that Microsoft had started OpenAI with $1 billion investment. They're going to now add another $10 billion. And in return for that, they're going to put OpenAI in Microsoft products like Microsoft Office. But Ben thinks the real strength will be in Bing, the Microsoft search. And that's why Google is calling, saying, red alert, red alert.
I just disagree. Well,
we'll see. We'll see.
I had breakfast with somebody, as I say, from Google this week, and he was saying, and he's not involved in this. It's just a smart guy who works at Google and still works there. Who was saying that well, ChatGPT and such cannot be involved in science unless they give sources. And I said, ChatGPT doesn't give any sources. And so there's two questions there, right? There's the kind of where did you get it, which is the discussion we had last week. Was this inspired by this artist or that artist? But then the second is, if you present a fact, does the engine give you backup for that fact? That's a whole other process, which I think can be created.
Oh, easily.
And reportedly, Google's doing that. But ChatGPT, as it is worthless. Worthless.
But nobody's saying that's what's going to. In fact, I showed you Nevo, which does do sources. Nobody's saying that's how Bing's going to do this. And really, I think the only real question is, does Google have a comparable product? Is Lambda or whatever it is Google's going to be using, can they meet the effectiveness of ChatGPT like AI? If Bing starts using it, I don't think Bing is just going to put ChatGPT on the front page.
Jesus.
But look, ChatGPT just passed the Wharton MBA exam.
Or an exam.
Well, it
A
passed
classes.
an exam given by a business professor.
Yeah, business professor, says Stacy.
New research
Yeah.
conducted by a professor of University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, which is Donald J. Trump's alma mater, I might add, found that the artificial intelligence-driven chatbot GPT was able to pass the final exam for the school's Master of Business Administration program.
Dang.
Yeah. I don't know. Business is not like the critical thinking is not important there.
You sound
just have to bluster
it's
your
going
way
to be fine. It's going to be fine.
No, I'm not saying it's going to be fine.
AI is not going to take over. Don't worry. It's going to be fine.
Okay, I don't think the AI is going to take over. I think we will have to learn new ways, much like we've learned new ways to collaborate on search. I mean, we constantly have to adapt. That is what you have to do in life. And so adapting to GPT makes sense, and recognizing how to restructure a business exam so kids can't, or so business students who are not necessarily kids don't just use it without learning whatever you're trying to teach them, unless that is what
maybe
you're
the
trying to teach
maybe
them.
the flaw is the
It's a
exam.
productivity boost.
Yeah, maybe the flaw is the
Yeah,
exam.
the whole point of the exam is outmoded.
Yeah.
So Clay Shirky, who's at NYU, was interviewed on NBC today, and was asked, should teachers panic? And he said, it's a word calculator, which I loved. Right? I think it's a great way to look
one way
at
to
it,
put it.
isn't it? But also interestingly, Stacey, to your point, I saw there's this wonderful woman. I have it in the rundown. Young woman who talks about AI all the time, and she's just found a job listing for a prompt engineer.
Nice.
With good pay, by the way.
Nice.
And
That's
so
a skill.
We said that
That's
was
a kind
going to
of skill.
happen.
Right. That's where it heads. That's where the educators
Here's
have to head.
here's the lead from a New York Times article of a couple of days ago. While grading essays for his world religions course last month, Anthony Ullman, professor of philosophy at Northern Michigan University, read what he said was easily, quote, the best paper in the class. It explored the morality of burqa bans with clean paragraphs, fitting examples, and rigorous arguments. A red flag instantly went up. Mr. Ullman confronted a student over whether he'd written the essay himself. The student confessed to using ChatGPT, and in this case, it had written the entire paper. Alarmed by his discovery, Mr. Ullman decided to transform essay writing for his courses this semester. He plans to require students to write first drafts in front of him in the classroom using browsers that monitor and restrict computer activity. In later drafts, students they can take it home then, but they have to explain each revision. Mr. Ullman says he also may forego essays in subsequent seminars and plans to weave ChatGPT into lessons by asking students to evaluate the chatbot's responses.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the smart thing.
And I also think as we encounter this more often, we will start to recognize a little bit. Like, I feel like I now twig to when something looks like it's oh God, what's the AI the vision one, like Stable Diffusion
Right.
or
Midjourney or
Midjourney or any of those. I feel, like a little antenna goes up, and I'm like, wait a second, is this real? And I think we'll get that when we start seeing more and more ChatGPT, and if you'll start recognizing it for what it is. I hope. Maybe.
I hope. So here's Ben Thompson's piece, AI and the Big Five. His contention is that AI is introducing a new epoch. How do you say it? Epoch? Epic?
Epoch?
I say epic, but I feel like
it's a.
I always thought it was epic.
Well, let's find
I
out.
thought it was epoch. Okay, hold on.
Let's see what ChatGPT says.
ChatGPT has us.
I can't spell
here,
epoch,
Google, you'd have
apparently.
Merriam-Webster says
Epic.
Epic.
Epic. Oh,
I say that
Do
too.
the British too.
I say epic, but only because if I say epic, it sounds like EPIC, and I want to say
Epoch.
epoch, which is
I don't
also
like it.
accepted.
That sounds like it's a.
Because then you
tennis
know
game.
what it is, EPOCH. Anyway, a new epoch, a new era. Let's use the word era. In computers, he says the first one was the PC. That was a disruptor. Then the internet. He says cloud computing. And then mobile. Clearly, mobile disrupted everything, starting with the Apple iPhone in 2007. Disruptive innovations do consistently come from new entrants in a market, writes Ben, but those new entrants aren't necessarily startups. Sometimes they're companies leveraging their current business to move into a new space. So this is the question, is ChatGPT going to transform, I think it is then a new epoch or era in computing, but who's going to be the winner in this? He talks about Apple, Amazon, Google, and Meta, but he says really he thinks Microsoft is going to be the big winner.
Do you think the $40 a month bill that they were proposing, ChatGPT was proposing, is okay? Seems like that's a little low based on previous discussions about how much compute power and cost of that it was to them. Seems like that's a low number.
It's going to be relicensed, I think.
I think we over-focus on ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah?
There are plenty of other things that do this. There's tons of stuff. Let's not say ChatGPT, but in general.
Yeah. They just did brilliant PR by releasing it the way they did.
Well, and it's opened our eyes, as did Stable Diffusion, right? They opened our eyes to what AI could do. But there's going to be others, and there's probably going to be better, right? One of the things that ChatGPT lacks is it's frozen in time, but it's completely possible to write one that's constantly, just like Google, spidering the internet for new content so that it's always up to date. That would be another thing. And yes, that should cost more because that's an expensive process. The reason Ben thinks Microsoft, he says, is going to be the winner here, well, I'll read the whole paragraph. Microsoft, meanwhile, seems the best placed of all compared to the other four. Like AWS, it has a cloud service that sells GPU. That's a big deal because current models require lots of storage and fast processors. Most people don't want to invest in those fast processors for something they're only going to do once in a while. So they rent it from Amazon or Google. It's a service, right? Okay. And Microsoft's in fact, Microsoft is the exclusive cloud provider for OpenAI. He says, yeah, that costs Microsoft a lot of money. It's incredibly expensive, to your point. But given that OpenAI appears to have the inside track to being the AI epoch's addition to this list of top tech companies, that means Microsoft is investing in the key infrastructure of this new epoch. Bing, and this is the interesting one, I thought, is meanwhile like the Mac on the eve of the iPhone. Like the Mac, which was a driver for Apple until the iPhone came out. Yes, Bing contributes a fair bit of revenue, but it's a fraction of the dominant player, Google. And it doesn't really amount to much in the context of Microsoft as a whole. But if incorporating ChatGPT-like results, and let's not say ChatGPT, but something like that, into Bing risks a business model for the opportunity to gain massive market share, that's a bet well worth making. We know Microsoft has admitted that GPT is coming to Microsoft productivity apps. They're already using GPT and Copilot on GitHub. And despite the controversies, it's been pretty successful, I think. What's important is that adding on new functionality, perhaps for a fee, fits perfectly with Microsoft's current subscription business model. And it's notable the company once thought of as a poster child for victims of disruption will, in the full recounting, not just be born of disruption, but be well-placed to reach greater heights because of it.
I still don't get it.
Well, I think we're going to wait and see. But I think just the threat to Google from Bing by itself is a big story. He compares
Stacey's
Google.
house is going to become more valuable then.
Yeah? Why?
Seattle real estate.
Oh, I should move up there quick. He talks about Eastman Kodak.
Watch out, Stacey. He's coming.
He says, Kodak is often the poster child for the innovator's dilemma, right? For being disrupted. But he said, in fact, Kodak did it right. It took over 25 years from the time of the digital camera's invention for digital camera sales to surpass film camera sales. It took still longer for digital cameras to be used in professional applications. Kodak made a lot of money in the meantime, paid out billions of dollars in dividends. Yeah, sure, they went bankrupt in 2012, but that was because customers had better access to better products. And they didn't need them, but
they could have done something different. They could have been Netflix and been in the red envelope business and the streaming business.
He says not really. He says Kodak, even if had Kodak in fact had digital cameras at the very earliest.
Oh yeah,
but they would have been foregoing all of that 25 years of profit to have.
So you're just saying get out as much money as you can while you can.
They
and
weren't
then
guaranteed to win that race, the digital camera race, right?
Yep.
So they would basically
that's
saying, I'm going to bet on this race and put all my money in digital. This is what Meta's doing, by the way, with VR. Put all my money in, and meanwhile forego all the
And doing
profits
really well.
of 25 years for this kind of weak bet. That's a pretty big gamble. He says Kodak actually shouldn't be the poster child for failure. This is the best you can get when you're in a
that's
situation.
a very shareholdery perspective. If you are the CEO of Kodak and working for shareholders, sure, give it. But if you're thinking about the employees or somebody who's trying to create and operate a business,
well, you'd have had to
being able
fire
to
all of those
transition.
people doing film, developing,
yeah,
processing.
you could bring them through.
Okay.
I mean,
guess.
you wouldn't have to fire everybody. And 25 years is a long time. You could ease people out. The point is, I mean, under that rubric, yes, Kodak is a success. I would say a better look at like the innovator's dilemma would be something like Verizon, or actually, you know what? A better example is Comcast in cable in Verizon, like the broadband companies and the encroachment of broadband on their wireline business, which used to be their cash cow in profit center, because they had put all this stuff in and they could just keep making money off of it. And what you saw was them push as far as they could, making money from both, and then gradually expanding the market, like the pocket share that they had of your revenue from broadband as people cut their landlines. So if you notice, you used to spend about $150 a month for your landline and your cable and your broadband, maybe 200. Now you still spend about $150 or 200. You just only have broadband.
That's a good point. They've done it. They've done it right. Dwindle asked, by the way, ChatGPT to write a story about us. Ready? Once upon a time, Leo Laporte, Jeff Jarvis, Ant Pruitt, and Stacey Higginbotham were all hosting a technology podcast together. They were discussing the latest advancements in the industry when suddenly the studio's power went out. The four hosts quickly went into problem-solving mode, using their extensive knowledge of technology to find a solution. They managed to fix the issue and continue the podcast without missing a beat. The end.
And cue the PG&E cut now.
It wouldn't be us. It'd be Jammer B. It'd be Benito. It'd be Russell Tammany. It wouldn't be us.
Do you have a generator there?
No.
No.
So, of course, when I worked at Tech TV, there was a lot of redundancy. We put in a building-capable generator that would keep us on the air, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then the power went out.
Running on diesel.
Yeah.
Running on diesel.
Then the power went out. I remember it vividly because I'm standing on the set. We're in the middle of a show, live show. Lights go out. First sign of trouble. And then we had cameras on jibs that were, on crane arms that were powered. And then the camera went, it just drooped. And I thought, this is bad. I heard the generator in the back. This thing was a big diesel, like a Cummins diesel engine go.
Yep.
And nothing.
And
nothing. Anyway, having learned that lesson, you spend a lot of money for complete redundancy, and but I decided long ago, John, that the TWiT was not mission critical. That if the power went out, we just go home.
IRC says otherwise, sir.
Wow.
If the power goes out, no harm, no foul. We go home. Now, Lisa doesn't like this at all. She says, yeah, but we got ads and blah, blah, blah. But the cost of being fully redundant is insane. We just spent, and against my better judgment, $23,000 to have, we had a power outage. I don't know if you remember. It wasn't on the air, but we have a thing for our audio. Our audio is based on a system called Telos Axia, and the thing that powered it died while Burke was here.
Yeah,
John was out.
It was late last year.
Yeah,
one Sunday, right?
Overnight, something like that. Were you here, John? Okay, it went out anyway. John runs in. Everybody runs in.
John's always here.
We cycle it. It's back, but they scared everybody. So my position was, so what? we just, you know,
It was like, I'm half out the door, people.
day
Let's
off.
just.
We send for another one. The
Yeah.
next, they FedEx it. The next day we're back on. Big deal. Oh no! So we just spent $23,000 to replace it with the latest and greatest, which we now have to wire up and stuff. And I said after that, you know, I was told, well, we're doing it. I said, but what about all the other systems for which we have no backup, including power? And I mean, how many systems? What if the TriCaster dies? What do we do? Do we put the second TriCaster online? Yeah. We have an
We all
HTC
call
one
in.
back there.
Well, you know what we do, Leo? You know, I'll tell you what we do.
What?
You use your laptop. You go find one. And we all call into a Zoom call, and you
We
stream
broadcast
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd go to my house. No, we do have.
I did that
because
for
of the
TWiT one time.
Yeah, I did it. Well, for the wildfires, when we thought they were approaching us, we made a plan that I would go home and do the show, and I even did the TWiT at home. Something actually was that when that was when the Axio went out.
That's when the power went out.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, this is not mission critical. It's not a hospital. No one's going
It
to
is
die.
to us, Leo.
Well,
I'm with Leo.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh yeah, give me to the waffles.
power out. Oh, waffles.
good.
Okay.
hey, this is breaking news. Just came in.
Uh-oh.
This is a tweet from Divergence Aaron. Earlier this evening, Kevin Rose, who, of course, is a good friend of the network, one of the founders of one of the early guys at Tech TV,
boy.
was phished into signing a malicious signature that allowed the hacker to transfer a large number of high-value tokens. Here's a breakdown of what happened, our immediate response, our ongoing efforts. He was socially engineered into a false sense of security. Kevin has tweeted since, I was just hacked. This was at 11:02 this morning. Stay tuned for details. Please, and this is really important, everybody, please avoid buying any squiggles until we get them flagged.
I know what that means. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Don't buy any squiggles until we get them flagged. He lost 25 and a few other NFTs, including an autoglyph. So there.
I'm sorry. I don't want to laugh at Kevin's.
Oh, you know
loss,
what? I will say, in line with this, we saw one of the, I was looking at, I get a bunch of annual reports and predictions from cybersecurity firms. One of their big predictions that they are starting to see and will continue to see, they think, is people using ChatGPT to socially engineer people more effectively.
Oh,
which is an interesting.
I got a good
that
one.
makes sense.
We covered this yesterday on Security Now. People writing malware, working malware on ChatGPT with ChatGPT. People with no coding experience, and it works.
Oh, wow.
Dang. Well, I guess if it works for that patch that he found the other week for LastPass,
That just did
the
the GUI coding and stuff, but yeah, I mean it can code.
Yeah,
it can code
why
fairly
not?
well. Anyway, I'm sorry, Kevin, that you lost, according to his friend Prager, as much as $1 million. Kevin made $50 million selling digital moon owls. So I don't think he's going to be hurting. I'm sorry, but you know what? I feel like live by the crypto, die by the crypto. This happens. This is an unregulated financial instrument, which is a nonstop hack fest. I'm
But he
sorry.
was on the cover of, what was it? Was it Business
Week.
or-
That was for a dig. The $30
What
million
did they say he was
man.
going to be worth?
Well, Kevin always laughed at that because it said he was worth $30 million with Dig. Dig ended up, I don't think he made a lot of money on Dig. It ended up,
But now he is.
he made a lot of
Or
money
was.
investing early in Twitter and other
Yeah, he was an
early
angel,
stage
right?
companies. He was an
Well, not
angel
angel.
investor. Yeah, no, he was an angel.
Oh, he was an
and
angel.
he did fine. He was at Google Ventures for a while as a VC. I think he's at True Ventures now as a VC. But of late, he's really gotten into DeFi, crypto, NFTs. He didn't make it, but his group,
Solana.
his group made $50 million. The group include Beeple, who's probably the #1 NFT artist. They made $50 million selling their digital owls NFT collection. And
I remember that.
yeah, he
I don't know
made
why
so
you
much.
can.
He made so much money that he had to make a video saying, "Look, I'm not going to. We're going to put the. We're not. We're going to spend. We're going to do the. We're going to do. I don't know. He made some justification video. I feel bad for Kevin. I love Kevin as a person.
Oh, that's great.
But I don't love NFTs, crypto, and I do feel like this is the way of the world with this stuff. And
I still don't have a problem with NFTs allowing artists to get paid. My problem is the scam behind it all.
It feels like the whole thing is a house of cards scam, and I just it's better. You're better off if Kevin could get scammed, anybody could get scammed. He's a sophisticated user.
The other thing too is you get Gary Vaynerchuk who will make up, in 30 seconds, make up a mouse and say, this mouse is going to be huge. Not imagining the actual creativity that goes into building a character and building stories and building everything else. I have a character. It's going to be huge. It's kind of offensive to all creativity.
I find it a little offensive. It's a little bit about
the ape stuff offended me. I never really got down with the bored ape stuff.
Well, it's the owls too. It's how can we take somebody's art and monetize? The whole focus is,
well, how can we create a scarcity?
Yeah, the whole focus is
that's the whole thing about
it's creating an artificial scarcity, or it's to hype up something that inherently that doesn't have value. Well, I won't say, because who's to say a bored ape doesn't have value?
Yeah, it has value to someone.
Yeah, but not at that level. Anyway,
I think it's kind of the end of the copyright arc. This whole notion of creativity as a property versus an act, and that you can put a fence around it and make it into a tradable asset. And so what the NFT people say and the Web3 people say is, everybody's going to own everything. I think the world's going in a different way, and I think it's the last gasp of that worldview.
Yeah. I think there's a lot wrong with the world today. That's all I can say. I feel like I know this is what happens when you get past a certain age. You start saying, hey, the way it is not the way it used to be, and it's not good. I'm sorry, Kevin.
I'm oldish, and I say that.
No reflection on Kevin. I'm sorry that happened to you. That's terrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think it's a cautionary tale for all of us.
Well, I hope that he reveals how he
was socially engineered. Well,
yes,
maybe it's
to help us all, to cut off that tactic for whoever's doing it.
Well, it may be just like truly good social engineering, so we just don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure we'll hear more about it. T-Mobile says for the second time, hackers have stolen a bunch of data. They promised it wouldn't happen again, but you know how those things are. 37 million customers, name, address, and account number. They say, and of course I trust them, credit card data and networks weren't affected, nor were passwords. They discovered the hack January 5th. Were able to trace the source and stop it within a day. Well, but 37 million accounts were exfiltrated. In 2021, the same thing happened. They got personal information, including social security numbers, driver's license information of 13 million active and 40 million prospective T-Mobile customers. They settled a $500 million class action lawsuit and said, we're going to make sure that doesn't ever happen again. Enough said.
Can I ask Stacey a question?
Yes.
On the story? Line 87 out of Las Vegas, the active cooling chip to get rid of fans. Is this real? You seen this?
Oh, I saw this. Let me look at it again because I haven't seen this. Is this the jet blowing thing?
No, I don't think it takes any air. It just manages to take the
seemed like
heat off the
Discord from someone.
What did you say?
Seems like I saw this in our Discord from someone too. Yeah. And
I've been ignoring this story for a week, but
that's
I'm glad you brought it up, Jeff.
Well, no, I was asking. That's why.
No,
is it BS?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I would love to have no threat of fans in the future. That's why I'm asking.
I
have to watch a video to see.
Yeah.
Let's the story.
Buy all this crap.
Okay, never mind. Okay. I asked.
Frore Systems, a San Jose, California-based company, has been working on a project
Oh, this is the airjet stuff.
to build a solid-state
okay.
Oh, it is.
piezoelectric-based cooling solution, which works through the use of ultrasonic membranes that run across the surface of a heat spreader, pulsing out the heat from a processor
that
more
was
quickly
supposed to
and
replace
efficiently and quietly.
my nose thing too. That was supposed to replace. There was supposed to be a little tiny thing I put in my nose that would get rid of my.
I'll tell you, in general,
And that never happened.
yeah, in general, just my way of doing this things. When they make a product, I'll talk about it.
Okay.
Oh, I talk about things ahead of the making of the product. Of course, I am a former chip reporter, so that's part of what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't talked to these people, so I would have to look.
A lot of, to me, having done this for 40 freaking years, I note.
Only half as long.
I note that there's always a lot of excitement about new technologies, and people say, oh, it's going to change the world.
It's going to change everything.
And 90% of the time, you never see another story about it for whatever reason. So my general rule is when it's a product, when they're actually, close to ship, maybe they're not shipping yet, but they're in the, CES is full of stuff that's never going to ship too. So no, when it's a product, I'll talk about it. Until then, it's a novelty. It's perhaps interesting. I've been bitten a few times. We talked a lot. Steve Gibson was so excited about super capacitive charging that was, and I actually have a screwdriver that works that way. But it hasn't really done anything else. So
A screwdriver.
yeah, I have
Oh,
a super
okay,
capacitor screwdriver. It charges very fast and discharges almost as fast.
So this company
sounds
does
awesome.
have $100 million from Intel and from Qualcomm, which again, if you're going to invest in, they would be the people who'd invest in it. Doesn't. So I think the
got in early.
technology is viable. Will it become commercial? That's still to be TBD, Jeff. How's that?
That's the answer I wanted to hear. Thank you, Stacey. I wanted context, perspective, not an old man whining.
My general,
It
It
again,
looks like
my,
so.
my general point of view is
Okay.
we can only cover about 50 to 100 stories a week, and most of these are never going to become important.
I just
to
have an
anybody.
idle
I
curiosity.
will say
now
this
and again.
looks like it has to be built into the chip at some level. Not if not the CPU itself, then this module, the SoC, the whole kit and caboodle. It looks like a physical solution that is built on top of or into the thing, which means that it would be harder to implement because it would change the way these things are packaged and or manufactured.
See,
which
this
would
is
be-
what I wanted was Stacey's perspective. Thank you. That's exactly what I was curious to hear.
So
So
that is what I will give you now based on the 30
second
seconds
reading.
I have read.
I'm not sold. Sorry.
Again,
You don't have
we've
to.
now wasted 5 minutes.
Okay, all right. Oh,
This
like
is
you don't
why-
waste time.
This is not why it's not a democracy. I carefully cultivate the stories that we use. I've been ignoring.
I was excited to use my expertise to help Jeff out.
I'm glad you did.
That part
Thank
was
you.
great.
Yeah.
That part was great.
But look, watch this. I'm going to type the last of us into Google search.
Why?
Couldn't figure out why this was.
Oh, there's a red mushroom. What do you think that means? Oh, no.
Oh, spores.
Uh-oh.
Really? This is more exciting than a whole
Hey,
new
at least it's
new
real.
He said-
technology.
At
It
least
Holy
it's
shit,
real.
it's real. It's just not
It's
commercial.
real.
and it's about Google.
It's
Well, that'll
real.
give ya.
It's happening right now on my desktop. Oh. Okay, I don't know. I think this has
You
to do
watching
with
it?
No, it has to do with some HBO
not
show
either.
I'm not watching.
It's The Last of Us. It's the how do you say it? Colocypris
It was
fungus?
it was
it's
a
the one
really,
that makes ants
yeah.
takes over their brains and
It was
makes-
zombies.
and that's the basis
Look,
of the
it's
show.
all
Zombies.
freaking zombies, right?
so morbid.
It's another zombie show. It was a game. It was a pretty good game. I like
It
the
was a
game,
game,
and that's
I
why
thought.
people are interested. Is because they've turned a game into a TV show. Again, in my opinion, another piece of evidence that the world's going to
Cordyceps.
hell. But okay. Is there not a William Faulkner short story you could use? No, I'm just kidding. Hey, everybody. Leo Laporte here. I am the founder and one of the hosts at the TWiT Podcast Network. I want to talk to you a little bit about what we do here at TWiT, because I think it's unique. And I think for anybody who is bringing a product or a service to a tech audience, you need to know about what we do here at TWiT. We've built an amazing audience of engaged, intelligent, affluent listeners who listen to us and trust us when we recommend a product. Our mission statement as TWiT is to build a highly engaged community of tech enthusiasts. Boy, already your ears should be perking up at that, because highly engaged is good for you. Tech enthusiasts, if that's who you're looking for, this is the place. We do it by offering them the knowledge they need to understand and use technology in today's world. And I hear from our audience all the time, part of that knowledge comes from our advertisers. We are very careful. We pick advertisers with great products, great services, with integrity, and introduce them to our audience with authenticity and genuine enthusiasm. And that makes our host-read ads different from anything else you can buy. We are literally bringing you to the attention of our audience and giving you a big, fat endorsement. We like to create partnerships with trusted brands who are in it for the long run, long-term partners that want to grow with us. And we have so many great success stories. Tim Broom, who founded IT Pro TV in 2013, started advertising with us on day one, has been with us ever since. He said, quote, "We would not be where we are today without the TWiT network." I think the proof is in the pudding. Advertisers like IT Pro TV and Audible that have been with us for more than 10 years, they stick around because their ads work. And honestly, isn't that why you're buying advertising? You get a lot with TWiT. We have a very full service attitude. We almost think of it as kind of artisanal advertising, boutique advertising. You'll get a full service continuity team. People who are on the phone with you, who are in touch with you, who support you with everything from copywriting to graphic design. So you are not alone in this. We embed our ads into the shows. They're not added later. They're part of the shows. In fact, often they're such a part of our shows that our other hosts will chime in on the ad saying, "Yeah, I love that." Or just the other day, one of our hosts said, "Man, I really got to buy that." That's an additional benefit to you because you're hearing people our audience trusts saying, "Yeah, that sounds great." We always over-deliver on impressions, so you know you're going to get the impressions you expect. The ads are unique every time. We don't pre-record them and roll them in. We are genuinely doing those ads in the middle of the show. We'll give you great onboarding services. Ad tech with pod sites, that's free for direct clients. Gives you a lot of reporting, gives you a great idea of how well your ads are working. You'll get courtesy commercials. You actually can take our ads and share them across social media and landing pages. That really extends the reach. There are other free goodies too, including mentions in our weekly newsletter that's sent to thousands of fans, engaged fans who really want to see this stuff. We give you bonus ads and social media promotion too. So if you want to be a long-term partner, introduce your product to a savvy, engaged tech audience. Visit twit.tv/advertise. Check out those testimonials. Mark McCrary is the CEO of Authentic. You probably know him, one of the biggest original podcast advertising companies. We've been with him for 16 years. Mark said the feedback from many advertisers over 16 years across a range of product categories, everything from razors to computers, is that if ads and podcasts are going to work for a brand, they're going to work on Twitch shows. I'm very proud of what we do because it's honest, it's got integrity, it's authentic, and it really is a great introduction to our audience of your brand. Our listeners are smart, they're engaged, they're tech savvy, they're dedicated to our network. And that's one of the reasons we only work with high integrity partners that we've personally and thoroughly vetted. I have absolute approval on everybody. If you've got a great product, I want to hear from you. Elevate your brand by reaching out today at advertise@twit.tv. Break out of the advertising norm. Grow your brand with host-read ads on twit.tv. Visit twit.tv/advertise for more details, or you can email us advertise@twit.tv if you're ready to launch your campaign now. I can't wait to see your product. So give us a ring. Twitter now is down, according to CNBC, to 550 engineers. 80%. He said he was going to fire 75%. He's fired 80% of employees. Headcount around 1,300. And of that, about half, little more than half, a little less than half rather, are full-time engineers. So how's he making up the difference? He's brought in people from Tesla, SpaceX, and the Boring Company. 130 people from other companies.
Have to say.
Boy, I'd be pissed if I were. It's like one more. Like what? Were they not doing anything over there? Why didn't you fire
who's
them?
Paying them?
Yeah, who's
are
paying
they? Are they still being paid by Tesla?
No. What do you think? What do you think?
Well, Twitter apparently doesn't have an accounting department, so
right, they ain't paying them. They ain't paying them. All right, let's see.
I mean, when Jack did two companies, he had a pretty firm wall, right?
People were pretty pissed that Jack was kind of barely paying attention. Yeah, on Twitter. But
he wasn't using staff.
I think that's why, by the way, Twitter was available and could be snagged by Elon, is that people were very unhappy with the way it was being run, and weren't happy with the board, and it was just not a good. Twitter's been. I guess it's important to understand. Twitter's been in trouble long before Elon came along.
Yes.
But who boy?
Oh boy. So the Academy Award nominations came out on Monday, and there was one kind of big surprise. There were a number of snubs. Viola Davis, who probably should have been nominated.
She was snubbed? You serious?
Yeah. You didn't hear about this?
No.
Dance Day.
Are you being facetious or real?
No, I'm serious.
Yeah. He seemed pretty upset.
What was the goddess? What was the name of
the Woman King?
The Woman King.
Yeah. Woman King.
And apparently it was an amazing performance, right?
Yes. That sucks. That sucks.
Yeah.
Hollywood sucks, man. Sucks.
Well, there's a reason I bring it up, because instead of her getting a nomination, a woman named Andrea Riseborough got a nomination for a movie called To Leslie that made $27,000 at the box office. But now, normally the way this works in Hollywood, and you know this, Jeff, is during this period of a few months between November and January, there are ads everywhere, billboards everywhere.
Consideration.
FYC, for your consideration. To the movie companies trying to gin up interest in their movies so they get nominated, because that makes a difference in box office. This movie was so small, and the company that made it was so small, they obviously couldn't afford it. But somehow, Twitter put them over the top. Cate Blanchett, Steven Spielberg, Oprah Winfrey, Meryl Streep, Daniel Day-Lewis, Martin Scorsese all tweeted saying Andrea Riseborough's performance in To Leslie was, quote, they all said this, the greatest screen performance in the history of the cinematic medium, end quote. It worked. She got a nomination for Best Actress, beating out Viola Davis.
Wow.
So there's some question about what was going on here. There was some kind of groundswell for maybe it was organic for this woman. Everybody says it was a great performance. I brought it up only because it shows
with promotion.
Twitter still has a lot of power.
Yeah, right. I have no problem with you using that platform for promotion purposes, because it clearly works. I'm still a little pissed Miss Davis didn't get the nod. Damn, she was good in that.
Every year there's the woman who was in Till was also snubbed.
Yeah, now I forgot the name.
Yeah, I can't either. But every year this happens, that there are some snubs.
I haven't seen a movie in 3 years.
Actually, if you look at the nominees, I'm not impressed. Avatar, Top Gun.
Ugh.
Normally,
Top Gun was legit good, though.
It was a good movie, but not the kind of picture that normally gets nominated for Best Picture. A small German anti-war film, I guess, a remake of the classic All Quiet on the Western Front, got Best Picture nominated. It got a bunch of nominations.
So did what was it called?
Well, Everything Everywhere
of Energy.
Everything. But the number one nominee was, and I think justly, was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Michelle Yeoh, and what an interesting, different movie. And I'm glad it got all the 11 nominations. I'm glad it got all of them.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. Riseborough is an addict trying to break free from her demons in Michael Morris's debut film. She wins the lottery, then burns through the money. To Leslie begins 7 years after that win when she gets evicted from the motel she's been living in.
Oh,
It premiered at South by in March, grossed only $27,000 in a brief theatrical run. It is available for rent on all the platforms, Prime and Apple. I'll be watching it. That's why these things are so important, right?
I'll give it a look.
Yeah. The campaign for it was a grassroots affair, according to the LA Times. Lasted only a few weeks, but so many people tweeted about it. There were even actors inviting people to come over to their house for a screening. Oscar winner Gwyneth Paltrow shared on Instagram she caught a screening calling the film a masterpiece on her Instagram account, saying Riseborough should win every award there is and all the ones that haven't been invented yet.
Huh.
It's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would
hypey.
check it out based on, I'm like, all right, well, if these people who...
Jennifer Aniston invited people over to her house to see the movie. You're not going to say no when Jennifer calls. She didn't call me.
I would.
You have popcorn?
Did she call? I was going to say, did she call you?
No. Kate Winslet had an event.
Oh, that's
at
a
her
woman
house.
who can act.
Yeah. She gushed, "You should be up for everything. You should be winning everything." Andrea Riseborough, I think this is the greatest female performance on screen I have ever seen in my life.
Jeez, come on.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll check it out now.
Yeah, I am now too.
I'm like, well, I mean,
They went on YouTube.
And I'll give it a fair shake.
They went on YouTube. Here's Kate Winslet in conversation with Riseborough and the director.
Hi, everyone. This is Kate Winslet. Hi.
And I mean, that's support. Maybe it must have been the greatest performance in all time for that.
well, that's what I'm like. I'm like, these are not people who like it's enough of a wide variety of people. I'm like, well, shoot, maybe they do.
There was
Maybe
a little
they-
upset. There was a little upset. Viola Davis and Danielle Deadweiler is the other actress from Till, who many thought were frontrunners for Best Actress. Didn't get a nomination.
Well, to their credit, this doesn't sound cooked to me.
Yeah, it just sounds like people like, when someone loves a book and they're like, oh my God, you have to read it. You give it to everybody. It kind of sounds like that.
Yeah.
So
I don't think there's enough money in the world to get, Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Demi Moore, Jamie Lee Curtis, Brad Whitfield, all these people.
Really? You don't think so? We got a guy
I think there's enough money in the world. But Kate Winslet, on the other hand,
No, these
somebody
people,
else's money.
they're not going to, even for they don't need here's $5 million. Would you plug our friend? No.
It ain't.
They
$5
must have
million
all
again.
thought this was amazing, right?
No, I agree. It doesn't sound cooked, but it could be cooked, but it just doesn't sound cooked.
It's fascinating, but it does show, and again, that's the only reason I bring it up, that social media, including very much Twitter, but also Instagram and YouTube and others, can really have some power.
Yeah.
Well, but within that small circle, I mean, here I'm going to argue. It's not anymore the mass numbers. It didn't make a difference with the public. It made a difference with a very small circle of people. It's just like journalists talking to each other.
Right.
This was their, little echo chamber.
Yeah.
yeah, but that leads to stories and things that get it to mass, and that's all that matters.
We'll see how much more than $27,000 it ends up making.
What's it called again? Because I got to make a note. I'm trying to do better about watching actual movies.
Yeah, I will watch this. This is not a blockbuster by any means. To Leslie. Here's Edward Norton's tweet.
Let's check the...
What's the Rotten Tomatoes? Yeah.
Oh, 98%.
Well, that's pretty... But you know what? Lately, there's a lot of 98% that I might not agree with.
I will say, though, I watched Paddington because it had a perfect Rotten Tomatoes, and it was a great decision.
Was it perfect?
Yeah. Paddington? Yes, it was a great movie.
I realized this actually back with the Zagat guides, which were, until Google bought them and kind of destroyed it, was a great little slim red guidebook to restaurants that you could buy. and it was very reliable. Lisa and I used to do our own Zagat after we go to a restaurant. Was that a 27? No, there was more like a 23. But it was usually pretty reliable. But then I realized it really depended, because it was all done by the public, on what public, right? So the Zagat restaurant guides in Peoria, Illinois, for instance, were less.
Olive Garden is a great place.
Well, the number one, according to Foodies Food Week in Peoria, Illinois, the number one appetizer was the salsa and chips at Chipotle. So, so that's why I used Peoria in this case. But I realized that if you're in San Francisco, for instance, and a restaurant's 27, that's a different thing than if you're in another city and it's a 27.
But yes.
And I think it's the same with Rotten Tomatoes, because it's selective. The people who go see I would never see Paddington, but I'm also probably the guy who'd give it a 43.
Right.
Oh, no, it's really an engaging movie. I mean, as long as you just...
I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score, and the audience score is just as high as the critic score for this to Leslie. That says a lot too. Normally,
I think we have to see.
Very skewed.
I see Leo.
We've got to see to Leslie, and Leo, you now have to see Paddington.
Oh, she made me do it. Stacy made me watch Paddington.
I have a rule ever since the kids got up past 13. I don't see animated crap at all. Ever.
It's not animated.
Paddington is.
Okay, the bear. Okay, fine.
The bear is
a puppet.
Like, discovered Stacy's soft side.
Yeah,
we've discovered romantic.
I'll be honest. Really, the real problem with Paddington, for me, is the fact that when we showed Paddington having tea with Queen Elizabeth, that whole episode is still not up. The bastards at the Paddington the Bear Consortium took us down. So
well, I was not aware of that, but
Studio Canal.
It was a delightful movie.
I will never see.
2:30, he'd be sued for calling them bastards.
No, wait a minute. Bastards is a matter of fact, isn't it? Jerks, I could say. You can't libel somebody with something that's an opinion, only with a matter of fact. If I were to say, Studio Canal, those guys are extortionists, I could get in trouble because they're not. Right. But if I say they're
But a bastard has a literal meaning, and that's
exactly. So I'm realizing I can't call them bastards. I can only say they're bad people.
They are. That was a good episode.
No, I have no.
They're heavy on the.
Actually, I don't really.
Illegal
I have
threats
against them. It was Paddington 2. Should we see Paddington or Paddington 2?
No, you should see the first Paddington.
Okay.
Paddington 2 was just. Yeah.
That was just a cheap attempt to capitalize on the joyous excellence of the original. You know, and I loved this book when my kids were little. I read the book to them. I loved it.
Andrew even liked the movie, and he's kind of a cranky person like you. And he thought it was delightful as well. So
he was being nice to you. He was humoring you, Stacey. Did you ever think of that?
No.
All right, Jeff, I'm going to let this be a democracy for one brief shining moment and give you a chance to pick some of these. Jeff put more stories in here than I did.
This does not surprise any of us.
Yeah.
I do it every week.
We've done a lot of them. We've done a lot of them.
We've done a lot of them actually this week. And last week you did a lot of them. I was very happy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to point it out for the fear that you'd notice.
Shh. In fact, I'm looking and I think I've done them, almost all of them.
You've done it good. There's a weird story. You want a weird story? A little weird story?
The man who sued Chick-fil-A?
Yes.
How did I know?
It's a wacky story.
He is a Virginia man is suing Chick-fil-A in San Francisco over sharing data with Facebook.
Coming from a law that was passed because of, get to that part. Fascinating.
A Virginia man making the company the sixth to be sued in the last 35 days for alleged violations of an obscure federal statute. This includes Dave & Buster's, Lazy Boy, Mattel, Smucker's, Procter & Gamble. All 6 of the cases filed by the same guy, Keith Carroll, who said each of the defendants illegally shared his personally identifiable information with Facebook. He wants $25 for each member of the 6 classes. He wants them to be a class action. Okay. This is the Video Privacy Protection Act of largely forgotten federal statute passed in 1988 in response to the public outing of the video cassette viewing records of Supreme Court nominee Robert Bork.
Oh,
Isn't that fascinating?
You may remember
that actually is.
way back when that 146 videotapes that Bork rented. Bork, by the way, did not ascend to the Supreme Court. He got borked. He was a Reagan nominee, I think, right? Or was it Bush?
Mm-hmm.
Bush. Bork revealed nothing salacious. Judge Bork favored Alfred Hitchcock films, spy thrillers, and British costume dramas. Bipartisan concern over the privacy issues resulted in a passage of the Video Privacy Protection Act.
Which no one has paid any attention to.
Because nobody rents movies from Blockbuster anymore.
Right.
The statute says any videotape service provider who knowingly discloses personally identifiable information concerning any customer can be liable for at least $2,500 plus punitive damages and attorney's fees. So the theory is defendants have shared information about their customers' video viewing preferences with Facebook, though the videos at issue are not obviously the full-length movies you'd get at a Blockbuster. In the Smucker's suit, for instance, the videos are how to brew coffee. Lazy Boy said as a customer on video recounting her design story, the complaint alleges that Chick-fil-A owns or controls a website at evergreenhills.com, and whenever someone watches a video on the website, defendants secretly reported all the details to Facebook, sending them PII. Well, what's at evergreenhills.com?
Yeah, that's what I'm.
It's a Chick-fil-A
clicked
thing.
on.
So at Evergreen, wait a minute. We are investigating suspicious activity on some customer accounts.
Sure enough.
So
we
apparently
are committed to protect.
There's a Chick-fil-A breach. So where's the videos? If I watch a video on here, here it is. I'm going to watch a video of a guy in a cow suit. I hate these ads, by the way, these Chick-fil-A ads.
I do too.
They're just terrible.
Especially knowing what we know about this company.
Yeah. Oh, the Chick-fil-A is so nice that when customers come in, our poor underpaid employees give them stuff.
We try to pay in food,
right?
Not money.
Yeah. So I would just watch that video, and now Chick-fil-A is sending that information to Facebook, according to this guy?
Because of a like button or something, or a pixel set?
Let's see here. This is using a tool that Facebook calls the Facebook Tracking Pixel. Once the tracking pixel is embedded and activated, by the way, people are always asking us, advertisers say, can you embed a tracking pixel? No, you can't. It's a podcast. You cannot put a tracking pixel on a podcast.
Right.
No, we do not do that. But apparently sites do. It reports the data to Facebook about the advertiser's customers on the site video. Oh, yeah. So this is trying to do the same thing we do try to do, where they're matching people who saw a Facebook ad for Chick-fil-A with people who ended up on the Chick-fil-A site. And then Facebook says, see, your ads work, right?
Because we own half of the internet, we can tell you that.
Right. And so the way we handle that, and I'm trusting it's going to work, we use a company that was bought by Spotify, so God knows. But the idea is, it's called Podsites. A lot of podcasters use this. Podsites gets the IP addresses of all the downloads from us. They store those and keep them private and all that stuff. And then they do put a tracking pixel on the advertiser's site. And that tracking pixel sends them a list of IP addresses, again, which they promise to keep private. They do a match, and they all they say to the advertiser is 30% of the people saw your ad on TWiT ended up on your website or whatever. They don't give any information to either party. We don't get the information about the tracking pixel. The advertiser doesn't get information about downloads. And Podsites, as an independent third party, just gives them the one thing they really care about is, did the ad work? So so I bet you that's what's going on here is that same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Don't sue us because we really try hard. We very careful not to give up any. I asked them again and again. We went over this again and again. And they have covenants and agreements and contracts that say, yeah, no, that information stays private.
So this is somebody who just clearly wants to go after Facebook and the internet.
Well, this is how stuff works.
Advertisers knowingly disclose information that is sufficient to permit an ordinary person to identify a specific individual's video viewing behavior.
Interestingly, Facebook is not named. It's the advertiser that's named.
But still, it's a way to attack part of Facebook's business, I think.
In order to have
This is
standing to sue in
fascinating.
federal court, a plaintiff must have a concrete injury from the defendant's conduct. So we'll see if he has standing even. I don't know. This will be interesting. We'll watch that. We'll keep an eye on that.
It's a weird story.
Yeah.
I put that in there.
All right.
The other advantage is I didn't read the whole story. You read the whole story and explained it to me.
I'll explain
What a
it.
service.
You should just have the "splain to me" section.
Leo explains this.
Well, I've already had
Or
Stacey
you,
explain
or
something
you,
to me.
Stacy. Stacy explains piezoelectric current. What is piezoelectric current?
Well, piezo means to move, or piezos move, and I use them in energy harvesting. So anything that's powered by piezos is harvesting energy from the difference in movement. So, piezo is the American
Piezo.
pronunciation.
So
Yeah, I've
it's
heard
like
piezo.
so I know
Piezo.
I get it. In my world, this is what happens when I wear corduroy pants. The rubbing together of my
Okay.
thighs generates electricity in the corduroy. If I happen to have a piezoelectric device to capture that,
Stacey's not happy.
Oh, here we go. The piezoelectric effect is the ability of certain materials to generate an electric charge in response to applied mechanical stress.
corduroy.
Oh, that's actually what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Corduroy.
corduroy. I know.
All right.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
Okay.
go back again to Webster's.
That analogy.
Oh, I got to turn my
It
sound
worked,
on.
though.
Got to turn my sound on.
Piezoelectric.
Oh, yeah, it's generating.
Piezoelectric. Piezoelectrically.
So it is piezo,
Piezoelectric.
not piezo, piezo. There's two syllables.
Interesting. I
Piezos.
learned something. I
So
thought
you
it
were
was
right in the first
piezo.
place. Stacey.
Piezo.
I think
I
said
may have said
piezo.
piezo.
I said
Oh,
piezo.
I see. Oh,
So-
okay. Well, that's honest of you to admit
So
that.
what's the story with Minnechaug Regional High School, and why'd you put this story in the rundown, Jeff?
Oh,
you
my
explain
God.
to me. It's time
I
for
thought
Jeff.
it was a Stacey story too, because it's what happens when Internet of Things goes completely bad.
For a year and a half, a Massachusetts high school has been lit up around the clock because they can't turn off the lights.
Oh, no.
It turns
Yeah,
out,
this is from a
That's the
lighting.
joke's over. That's all we needed. That's
yeah,
fine. But
it turns out the software that turns off the lights has failed, and and apparently there's no switch.
better
It's
with
just-
it on than off.
Yeah, well, that's true. It uses
that's the
highly
story.
efficient fluorescent and LED bulbs. When possible, teachers have manually removed bulbs from fixtures, while staffers have shut
Stacey's
off
dying.
breakers not connected to the main system. But it communicates an image of profligacy.
Oh, boy.
And besides, when you drive by the high school in the middle of the night and it's blazing bright, you got to wonder what's going on in there. There's hope on the horizon that lights at Minnechaug will soon be dimmed. Paul Mastone, the president of the Reflex Lighting Group, said, "The parts we need to replace the system at the school have finally arrived from the factory in China, and we expect to do the installation over the February break. And this time, there will be a remote override switch so this won't happen again."
And we'll make more money from the district.
Another story that I wasn't going to do, but Jeff, you're
well,
right.
It's for your option.
All right.
I put it in there.
It's
You
gone
notice
on
it's
too
a
long.
long exposure.
It's gone on too
Wait.
long.
Exposure shot.
What?
I gave someone a wrong information. The do not pay robot lawyer apparently is not. They're postponing their actual court case because the state bar said no.
Yeah, judges are notorious about not liking this kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was
Protect their
gonna
oligarchy.
represent a client in court, probably not on some big issue, some sort of small
Yeah.
thing. But Joshua Browder, who founded Do Not Pay, says, after threats from the state bar, I've declined to do this. So, all right. Postponing our court case.
We did this when he started that company. We covered that in the show ages
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, he actually did quite well, right? For a long time, that was like parking tickets, right?
Yeah.
Let's do a quick Google changelog and then wrap this thing up because Stacy's so sick of it. I could just tell.
I think I'm just getting sick. I think that's my issue.
Oh, no. Google Clock 7.4 updates timer UI and tests buttons for ending alarms. This just in.
Nothing in the changelog this week, if that's the start.
Yeah. Android 13 QPR
Wow.
Beta 2.1 rolling out with Bluetooth and 5G fixes for Pixel. Google Meet is making it easier to share files during calls. And Waze now supports Android Auto's Cool Walk dashboard. You want to see what it looks like?
Yeah.
That's the Cool Walk dashboard. Ooh.
Why is it a cool walk you're driving?
Ooh, this is the redesign of Android Auto. Actually, I'm going to try this because I'm going to try it tonight on my Mustang. I have Android Auto on my Mustang. Cool Walk is just the name of the dashboard. You get panels so you can see what music you're listening to while you're looking at the map and stuff like that.
Why is it called Cool Walk? Explain that to me.
That's its name, Jeff.
Explain it to me, Leo.
They paid
Explain
a
things to
very
me.
expensive branding company millions of dollars to test with consumers a variety of names, including the new map.
But you're driving. You're not walking. You're driving.
It's true. I don't know. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means, but that's what they're calling it. And that's the Google changelog.
Scooter X had nothing this week, man. He was barren.
Oh, wait a minute. He found one thing. Nest Hub's new security page makes it harder to access live camera feeds.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that on our show.
Is it a big deal?
No.
No.
It is not.
And I won't stop the forward motion of this show. I just want to remind everybody of two important details. First, take the survey, last chance. I'm not going to mention it again. It runs through the end of the month, which means we're just about 6 days off from the final chance. The survey helps us so we don't have to track you, so we don't have to put tracking pixels in your podcast. It's just the advertisers want to know a little bit about, the general audience, male, female, education, that kind of thing. Answer a few questions. It's completely optional. We appreciate it if you do. twit.tv/survey23. We also use it to, kind of learn more about you and make sure we're on the right track with the programming and so forth. So it's really the once a year thing we do to kind of get to know you. twit.tv/survey23. Thank you in advance. Also a plug, which I am told I should do more often, and I really want to join our club. It is a very important way for us to monetize. We only had one ad on this show. It means, generally one ad doesn't cover the costs of doing the show. Let's put it that way. But how do we support this show? Thanks to you, your generous Club Twit members. What do you get? Ad-free versions of all the shows. You get access to the Club Twit Discord, which is a great community of really fun people. We have lots of time talking in there. In fact, I go in there not only during the shows, but during the regular week because we talk about everything. I go in the coding section a lot. Anime, autos, beer, book club, gaming, hacking, ham radio, pets, software,
and
travel,
gifts
and more.
memes to make you happy all day long.
It is the key to memeing. Jason Howell's getting involved. All you have to do is give us $7 a month. That's nothing. You also get special events that we don't put out in public, special shows that we don't make available in public, like Hands on Windows, Hands on Mac, our Untitled Linux show, The Giz Fizz. We've got some events coming up. Win2DAO, host of All About Android, February 9th. We're going to do that Daniel Suarez interview for Triangulation and Ask the Tech Guys on February 10th, 11 a.m. But club members will get to ask Daniel questions directly. He's looking forward to that. I can't wait. Samable Samit will join us March 2nd. Lisa and I did an Inside Twit, which is available on the Twit Plus feed. There goes Martin Sargent trying to catch us on a bicycle. That's a good one. Where'd you find that, Patrick? Anyway, it isn't much. I think we could and should charge a lot more, but Lisa's really good about saying no. $7, that's fine. That's all we need. If we could get Right now, it's about, I think it's about 2% of the total. There's, we have about 700,000 unique listeners every month. If we could get 5%, 35,000 members, we only have 6,000 now, get to 5%, it would make such a difference. Our financial future would be assured. The lights would stay on. Everybody'd stay employed. We'd have to do layoffs, and we could launch new shows. That's all we ask. If we got to 10%, we wouldn't even have to do ads anymore. I mean, that's a huge difference. So, we wouldn't even have to do shows if we had 10%. We'd all just go home and let you give us money for nothing. So, this is John's dream come true.
Jammer B.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, dear.
Toys.
Twit.tv/Club Twit. I mean, in all seriousness, it's really a great way to participate in our community and to help us out. So thank you in advance. Now it's time for our picks of the week. We'll start with Stacy. If you have a thing, I'd like to know.
I do have a thing, but I thought I brought it in, and I didn't.
So
I can just tell you about it.
Just tell us about it. I'll pull up a website if you give me the
It's
info.
the Jabra 85T over-the-ear Bluetooth and wired headphones. Because you can plug
it on your head?
Ooh, and wired.
Is Jabra still around? I'm kind of amazed. They've started doing hearing aids, I think, right?
They have. Oh, you know what? And this is another thing. I'll just throw this out here because Kevin did a review this morning on the Apple II earbuds Pro.
Yeah,
something.
Apple Pro. Yeah, AirPods Pro 2. AirPods Pro 2.
Yes.
Which I have, and I like a lot. They're very good.
He uses them as hearing aids, and he says they're better than the new Heroes.
Yeah, because Apple has a feature where you can use your phone as a microphone, and it goes in the earbuds. You get ambient sound and stuff. And so if you are at dinner or something, you put the phone in the middle, and you hear quite well. It's quite good, and they're comfortable.
He actually doesn't. He doesn't use it that way.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't do that. What he did is he uploaded his audio graphic profile from a site called Mimi, and he then went into the accessibility panel, and he now custom tuned his headphones to his hearing.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do this.
Yeah, go check out. Okay, so this will be my thing because it's actually I had no idea.
It's on the podcast this week.
It's on Stacia and IoT. The AirPods Pro 2 Second Gen, as smart hearables, puts a smile on my face.
Oh, really? Cool. Oh, I'm gonna.
Yeah,
okay, so I have the AirPods too. I'm gonna have to try. They have noise cancellation. They also have the ability to mix ambient sound into the audio.
Why is my font so ugly on your computer?
Because I'm in Linux. What font would you like it? What font would you like it to be?
I'm like, God, that's hideous.
What font do you? It looks fine to me. What font would you like it to be? What's it supposed to be?
I didn't know anything.
Tell Andrew to use a web-safe font. If he's using a font or not using a downloadable font, I'm not going to see it. I'm using Firefox on Manjaro Linux. You could tell him that. And it's just a plain old sans serif. It looks like Helvetica or something.
Yeah.
It's fine
ours
with me.
is, it's probably, no, it's hideous. God, whenever I see you pull up my website, I'm like cringing.
Really?
It's actually a little bolder. I kind of like it better.
Oh, maybe it is bolder. It's just ugly.
You don't know ask Andrew what font you use, and I'll just make sure that that's the font I use from now on. I may not have it installed. If I install it, it would then do it probably. Here, later I'll look in the developer tools.
Okay, well, I've switched my thing apparently to Kevin's review of the hearables because we got sidetracked. But yes, the other thing is the Jabra 85. I'm just making it. Hold on, I got to tell you what it is really.
I'm looking at your site on John's MacBook. Oh yeah, that's nice. It's very thin.
Yeah, it is.
I like mine better.
Okay, well, there you go.
We're old, Stacy. You're young.
Oh, the Jabra Elites.
These are old.
The 85Ts.
Yes.
I have these actually.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
I just I bought them. They're not new or anything like that, but
not expensive.
In the sense of
$140.
They were even cheaper than that, I think.
No, nice.
But yeah, they were like $100.
Oh wow.
Well, wait. One of them is an earbud. One of them was a headset. What are you pumping here?
But basically, well, my husband is in this little tiff because I wander around listening to audiobooks when I'm doing things.
And he can't tell because this is inside your ear.
Yes, and he gets so pissy. He's just like...
Oh, you're talking about the
I'm speaking
85H?
to you, Stacy.
No comment.
You're talking about the 85H?
85H.
Oh, I had the T.
Yes.
Okay. The H.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
yeah.
So
now this is a visible indicator that I am listening to my audio. I mean, like, I'm like, look, if I am running around the house doing laundry and like washing dishes, you can just walk next to me.
Lisa does exactly the same thing. And I'm talking to her and she doesn't know I'm talking to her.
She happily ignores you.
And I think she's ignoring me, but no, she's listening to a book. I probably do it to her too. So these are red over-the-ear headphones that sound great, probably. Have better
they sound
battery life.
amazing, and I customize mine. These are jobbers as well, so I customize mine and to my hearing profile, like my preferences, rather.
That is the key. So Android devices usually have that built in in their sound settings, but he goes to Mimi to do this. Do you customize them with Mimi, or do you use a Jabra app?
Oh, no, that's okay. So I use the Jabra app. You can't, I don't think I can bring in Mimi stuff. So yeah, these are two separate things that I'm apparently telling you about.
No, but I didn't know about Mimi. So this is a new thing to me.
I've used Mimi to test my hearing too. It's free. So why not?
MIMI. It's an app. Okay.
Yeah, it's just an app.
Oh, nice.
Little hearing app.
I used this a long time ago. I remember this now. Yeah. It's just like the audiologist test.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make sounds in your left ear and your right ear, and if you can hear it. Yeah. Okay. You should do it with the with the device that you're using, but I didn't know that it could upload the profile to profile.
So that's what I thought was really cool is he sends his audiogram to the iPhone. He hit the accessibility settings, and then there's a whole section that lets you tune the sound to your audiogram, or you can choose sounds.
Nice. I'm going to do this. That's
so
great.
Go check that out.
Yeah. And you all should check out the Jabra 85H Elites noise canceling. Are they noise canceling?
Yeah, they're noise canceling.
Nice. I like
they
the
also
white
hear
ones.
through.
I would get the white one. Those look pretty.
I got the titanium ones because they were $50 less.
Oh.
Because I'm cheap. Mine are black and silver. That's mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think they were $150.
Nice.
Well, it says $249 here.
These are list for $250. Nice.
Yeah, I think I bought mine for $150. I mean, again, I've got some devices that are not that, but I can't.
I think it's so cool that you care so much about Andrew, thinking you're not paying attention to him, that you wear these just so he will.
Well,
know.
he just gets so cranky. He's just, I just cannot handle when he's irritable.
I know. Lisa hates it when I'm irritable too. I understand.
Yeah,
and,
irritable husbands.
And also, go to StacyOnIoT.com and read this article about turning your AirPod Pro 2 into hearables. Nice. Hearing aids. Mr. Jeff Jarvis, number of the week.
Can I ask you a question first real quick? You have a Pixel 7, right?
Right in front of me, right here. Yes, sir.
Have you turned on clear calling?
No, we were going to talk about this, and I'm curious.
You had it in the list. I'm just curious because that might even make me buy one.
All right, I'll turn it on. Next week, I'll give you a report.
So here's my thing.
Yeah,
a couple things real quick. So if you go to so you see my office here, 10 out of 10.
Beautiful.
On Rate My Skype Room.
Beautiful.
It's
well
wonderful.
done.
I have kind of a vaulted ceiling here.
Yeah.
Which leads to I'm bringing in the carpenters next week.
No, don't do this, Jeff.
I'm doing it. I just can't wait.
Don't do this, Jeff. Don't do it. Look what he wants to do.
This is a story. It's auf Deutsch. It's in Spiegel.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, don't do it.
This mountain building engineer had a collection of 70,000 books, likely the largest private collection in all of Germany, in a single family home. And for those of you who are on audio, he built shell in a vaulted ceiling. It is completely filled with books. There's wood slats to hold them in, and they are obsessively sized, and covers the entire ceiling, every wall, plus one bookshelf. 70,000 books in one house.
So I'm going to guess he never looks at the books in the ceiling. I mean, what does he have to do to get to that book?
I don't know.
It's pretty well locked in, and he doesn't live in earthquake country like we do, because That is a recipe for death.
Problematic.
Problematic. That's the word. I'm scared of my normal bookshelves.
Right.
You don't have them affixed with the little thingies?
You got to strap them to the wall and everything. Yeah. I can't remember if we did that or not. There's always
Mine's strapped in.
There's something in the host office there, like a shelf. And I remember Mr. Burke, when I first got here, going in and doing some type of reinforcement on that thing. And I'm like,
IKEA has you do it for kids too.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get Burke to come to our house and do this. LG recalled 52,000 86-inch TVs because they fall over.
Whoops.
So, you got to pay attention to that stuff. We have our hot water heaters strapped, stuff like that. In earthquake country, you got to attach stuff to the wall. So it doesn't
also, if you have little kids,
they pull them over.
Bookshelves.
Also,
they pull them onto themselves.
This would
I have a permanent bump on my head from pulling a chair over onto my head when I was a kid.
That could explain a lot, actually.
Yeah, that's a joke my family makes quite a bit.
You don't have to worry about toddlers pulling books off the ceiling.
No.
But I don't know how you get books off the ceiling.
Every inch.
Right.
It's just amazing.
Can you imagine the sound? The sound quality in there must be great. It must be so dead.
That's the
I was going to say, can you imagine the dust and what if little wormies
Rodents.
get in there?
Yeah.
Bookworms, literally.
Well, he's German. He probably doesn't have any of those. All right, that's Jeff's pick of the week. Mr. Ant Pruitt, your turn.
My pick. I wanted to talk about this on my show, but then I did a bit of a, I guess you can say, unofficial survey and figured probably wouldn't fit for my particular audience, but maybe the This Week in Google audience would.
Because it's more wealthy.
Pricey.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That just looks good. I like how that looks. What is it?
What is that?
Stella Pro Reflex S light. This is a constant light, but you can also use it as a strobe and have it connect to your camera to be a flash instead of just a constant light. The beauty of it that I enjoy is the fact that I can take this standard trigger here. This is just an old Godox trigger that I could put on my camera. It costs maybe $60 for this, and it will fire this Reflex S off. And if I want to shoot 10 frames a second, it will do it. Click, 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 really, really fast. Instead of having to do what they call high-speed sync, because only certain flashes allow you to have high-speed sync, where you can shoot at a certain shutter speed and be able to get the maximum amount of power out of your strobe. All of this is just sort of built in. You don't even have to think about it. Just set it up either with the Bluetooth connection or use the transmitter and set your channels and things like that. It's super daggum cool. But yes, it's a little bit pricey for most people that listen to my show, but this thing is pretty freaking badass. And it's about 100 watts light power.
Are loaded? Is that the thinking here?
That's pretty much what I said. Yeah.
You should all join the club as a result.
It's all because of Scooter X. He's really brought the average up.
Right. But it's bright. I mean, again, if you want to use it as a constant light, you can use it for a video light. So it's 100 watts in power. If I wanted to use this for the show, I could, and it'll be a nice key light.
There's two reasons I like this. It's the old school. Remember the photographers? They'd put the hood over their head and they'd hold up the gunpowder strobe and they'd go, watch the birdie. You could do that.
You could, because this only weighs about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds max.
You need a hood, heavy. But other than that, watch the bird. But then the other, and of course, off-camera flash is always better than on-camera flash.
Off-camera is always better.
So even arm's length would be better, right?
Yep. And this allows you to connect like a Bowens mount on the front of it, because this is just an LED light, but it's modular. You can put a Bowens mount on the front of it. It's powered by USB-C, so you can charge it up with USB-C.
How long does it last?
Or plug it in. If you want to go full power constant light, it's like 6,000 lumens, I believe.
Wow.
And it'll stay on for half an hour, but you don't need You don't need that much light. Just turn it down.
Is it my imagination?
Hour or so.
Was there like a Jimmy Stewart movie where Ernest Borgnine's the bad guy and is trying to stab him, and Jimmy keeps flashing his strobe at him, and he goes, and he
man, that'll kill you.
Is that something I just dreamed?
No,
once?
you're right. You're right. It was.
I feel like I don't know what the movie.
I don't know the movie, but
the
it'll
chat
kill
room is
you.
too young to remember.
Yeah, we need more
what
old
was that?
timers around here.
Oh, well, it was. No, yeah, I know what it was. It was Rear Window.
It was Rear Window. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
he
Rear
was a
Window.
photographer
Yeah.
in Rear Window,
Yeah.
and he was in a big
I
hip
don't know what y'all
cast.
talking about.
And who was the
It's
bad
an
guy?
Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Oh, it's Ant.
Oh,
It's a good
Broderick.
movie. You
No,
really
Broderick,
should
no,
watch
what's
it.
his name?
Oh, Ant. It's about a photographer who is.
Oh, you'd love it.
He broke his leg. He's got the best girlfriend ever. She was the Princess of Monaco, Grace Kelly.
Ooh,
And
Okay.
he.
That's not part of the plot.
No, but it's.
But she's
I just
really.
felt like he might be confused.
She's really cute, and there's a cute scene at the beginning where she takes her jammies out of her purse. But that's another thing that's stuck in my mind. But it's really about a photographer who is kind of confined to his apartment, and he looks out the back window and he thinks he's seen a murder. And don't get the one with Christopher. That's not it.
No.
There was get the 1954 classic.
What's it called again? Rear Window?
Rear Window.
Right there,
Oh
right
my
there.
God, was this a great movie? I can't believe. I'm jealous that you haven't seen it, especially as a photographer.
watch it again.
1954.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
probably why
I
it's an
found it.
old movie. But what
I
a
found
great movie it is. And yeah, there is a scene, isn't there? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's well, I don't want to give
Raymond
anything away,
Burr.
but yes.
Raymond Burr was
Raymond
the bad
Burr.
guy. He was the guy who Jimmy Stewart thinks committed
Grace
murder.
Kelly, Thelma Ritter,
Yeah.
Raymond Burr.
Oh, such a good movie. And I love Jimmy
I'll
Stewart.
add that to the queue as well.
Do you watch old movies?
98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Do you see old movies
I
ever?
don't. No, sir.
Oh.
But again, I'm going to do my best to try to watch more movies this year.
This would be
instead
a
of
good
watching
one because
television.
the hero's a photographer, a war photographer. Body Double is the same idea. It is the same idea. And a great movie in its own right, but I think Rear Window's the classic.
Nice.
And just because I think you'll like it because of the way the sets are constructed. Because it's a Hollywood movie. It's not filmed on location.
Of course.
So yeah, so it's interesting. I think you will enjoy
Yeah.
it. And then watch
Well, I'll try it out.
for the moment when he blinds Raymond Burr with his strobe, which you could do with your reflex.
Yes, the Reflex S. Now on sale for $767.
That's all.
Got a budget now.
Oh, you're making my stuff look cheap. I like it.
You're pretty well equipped over there, Ant. You got some.
I got a lot of gear. I do. So
Yeah.
I never shy away from a gig.
Do you do weddings or things like that, or?
I'm staying away from weddings because I don't want that pressure. I'll just be honest
Those
with
people
you.
are crazy.
I don't blame you.
That's
Yeah.
one person's one shot, and you don't get any do-over. So I don't want that. But I am going to pitch someone for some event stuff here. I got a feeler out here locally. So
Lisa
fingers
and
crossed.
our wedding anniversary is coming up on Sunday, and yeah,
and you have hair.
and I have hair this time. And but you know what's
I know
sad?
the
I was
story.
thinking about this because I had shaved my head to raise money.
New Year's
Jeff,
Eve.
Jeff was
bet.
there. It wasn't a bet. It raised money for UNICEF, and we did. I also have a tattoo I'm not proud of, but that's another story. But the sad thing to me is, so we got married 7 years ago in a beautiful place in Napa that has since burned to the ground. It's gone.
Oh no.
I was thinking about the wedding photographer. He was wonderful. We had a great wedding photographer. But all we have is the pictures. That place is ashes. It's gone.
That's sad.
That's the place you were also going to before the fire. They said,
Yes.
"Don't come."
We got there. It was smoky. We started to check in. They said,
Oh yeah, I remember that too.
we might have to evacuate. They did not cancel our reservation, but thank God the desk clerk went, we think we might have to get evacuated. I probably wouldn't check in. As we're driving back down the long road to it, we get a text message saying, go home, we're closed.
Yeah.
So we got out of there, but it did not get burned down that time. It got burned down in a second wildfire a couple of years later.
It's mean out there.
It's
I
tough.
think God says California shouldn't be lived in. It should be visited.
We should not be here.
Abandoned CA.
I like it here.
I do too.
Frankly,
You're getting your whole family move out from North
the whole
Carolina.
no humidity here, man. That's
Oh,
what I'm talking.
The climate here is superb.
about.
Even when it's cold, it's superb. Even when it's pouring rain, it's superb. Even, dare I say, when there's an earthquake and your ceiling full of books hits you in the head, it's superb.
But it's not superb when you got to go over a bridge that might collapse because it's only in fair condition.
That's a good point.
Fair condition.
That's a good point. Mr. Ant Pruitt, hands-on photography, twit.tv/hop. What's coming up next?
This week, I'm finally diving into drone photography and drone video. I'm going to share some insights on that. I've gotten questions in the past, but never been able to really get around to them because other stuff pops up. But I'm going to talk about using a drone for photography and should you use a drone for photography and video.
We teach that at our school.
Really?
Journalists. Yeah. A guy named Travis Fox does that. You should look him up.
I have that Mavic Mini Pro, whatever it is. I really like it. I hardly ever use it because I can't think of a reason to. But
yeah, that's part of the discussion.
Yeah. Well, once you once you take
part of the discussion.
Once you take a bunch of videos of your house from the air, you're kind of done. I find.
So Richard Gingras at Google adores his. He takes them everywhere, and he loves the seashore.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so pretty. You know, I'm gonna watch because I feel like I need some inspiration to do more stuff with my DJI Mini. So
my child actually watched your hands-on photography for pet photography. Believe it or not.
Oh, with Captain Nick Anderson. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So there you go.
Captain Nick's awesome. He's so daggum cool and really good at what he does.
Thank you, Mr. P. Oh, wait a minute. Let's talk about Hardhead real quickly.
One more thing.
Yes.
Hardhead here. If you click on that link and go to his Instagram page, you'll see a photo of him.
Yeah.
But if you look over there up under his name, there's 2 words there.
He's making money selling shoes. Oh, these are good shoes, these Adams.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to give a shout out to him and a shout out to Adams because Adams, remember I got some shoes from them sometime last year.
Yeah.
Because they were big enough. They reached out and asked if I would want to shoot, and I said straight up, I said, you know what, these shoes are way too nice for me, too nice for Ant Pruitt. But I don't mind working with you all, but I'd rather you all work with my son, and you pay my son.
I can't believe your son is a full-grown man now.
Yeah,
I can't believe this,
dude.
He's like a grown-up. He also has acquired your bad habit of wearing black socks when working out.
Oh, no. Black socks is the way to go, baby. That's it.
I thought
when you're working out?
I was always told. Yeah. In fact, I remember when I was a kid in gym and PE, they said, no, you have to wear white socks. No black socks allowed. And they implied like the dye in the socks would seep into your bloodstream and kill you.
Had to make up ridiculous.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, well, that's
and
a little
egg yolks
weird.
are bad for you, too, Mr. Laporte.
So, but I wear those white, athletic socks, the tube socks.
You wear them with your sandals.
All of my athletic socks are black. I haven't had white athletic socks in a decade or so. They're all black.
Are they athletic socks or just dress socks?
Yeah, they're athletic socks.
They're special
they're
socks.
athletic socks.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I wear is Nike black socks.
You too?
Yeah.
Do I look like an old man when I wear white socks?
Yep,
especially when you have your shorts and your
my Birkenstocks
sandals on.
When I wear my white socks with my
shirt.
Birkenstocks.
Please don't do that, sir.
Your Crocs.
I have those too.
The most uncomfortable thing I've ever had on my feet in my life.
I was very upset because I thought you could wash those in the dishwasher, and they shrank.
Oh boy! Oh gosh, dude, really?
My Crocs shrank. They're not supposed to shrink.
We need memes of Stacy doing just what she's doing now.
We have them. We have them. If you're in our Club Twit Discord, we have a Stacy hand and head icon that you could.
Oh, we do?
Oh gosh, yes. Let me see here. There it is.
Where?
There it is, right there.
I've never seen that.
There it is.
Oh, good.
Oh.
Yeah, that comes up a lot.
It does. It does indeed.
Another reason to join Club Twit, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Thank you, Ant. Twit.tv/hop. See him in the club. He's our community manager. Stacy is at StacyOnIoT.com, the IoT podcast. At GigaStacy on Twitter. Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate it. Always great to
Thank
see
you.
you. Mr. Jeff Jarvis, of course, we know him. Frank Sinatra called him a bum. Ray Kroc called him a nickel millionaire. He is the director of the Townite Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. What is that? Was that like bagpipes?
Wait. Yeah, what just happened?
Sorry,
what
I
was
clicked
that
on the video.
ominous music?
Yeah. Sorry.
Can we? All right. Here's a challenge
That's my
to all
bad.
of our listeners: a bagpipe version of the Craig Newmark.
There we go.
We'll call it Amazing Craig. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We do This Week in Google every Wednesday about 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC. You can watch live at live.twit.tv or listen live. We stream both. If you're watching or listening live, chat live at irc.twit.tv, open to all, or in our Club Twit Discord. After the fact, you can get on-demand versions of the shows from the website, twit.tv/twig. There is a dedicated YouTube channel to This Week in Google. You can also subscribe in your favorite podcast player, which would probably be the best thing to do. If you will, if your podcast player allows reviews, give us a 5-star review. Let the world know about the best dang show on a Wednesday afternoon they could ever possibly listen to. That's it for Twig. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Don't miss All About Android every week. We talk about the latest news, hardware, apps, and now all the developer-y goodness happening in the Android ecosystem. I'm Jason Howell, also joined by Ron Richards, Florence Ion, and our newest co-host on the panel, Wen Tu Dao, who brings her developer chops. Really great stuff. We also invite people from all over the Android ecosystem to talk about this mobile platform we love so much. Join us every Tuesday, All About Android on twit.tv.